it is day number 2 of opening weekend for the SuperKarts USA Winter Series. We are ready to get things underway with warm-ups for another full morning, afternoon, and, well, potentially even evening of racing. We ended yesterday under the lights here. We were racing up until about 7:30 p.m. with that Pro and Master Shifter main event. Of course, OrlandoKartCenter hosting the SKUSA Winter Series for the first time in the venue's history. It has hosted SuperKarts USA for the past 2 seasons as a part, or past 3 seasons as a part of the fantastic SuperKarts USA Pro Tour Winter Nationals that this year moves to Texas, with the Speed Sports Racing Park making its first ever time hosting SuperKarts USA and crew. K100 Junior is the first of our groups onto the racetrack here for morning warm-up, and today is a lot different than yesterday. My name's Xander Clements here in the booth. Alongside me, the voice of e-karting news, the SuperKarts USA Super Nationals, and for every edition of the SKUSA Pro Tour up until the last couple of years when he's been so busy he gets double booked, Mr. Rob Howden. Rob, good morning.
Xander, you said, and thank you for being here. Obviously great to be down here in Florida. We know that it's a little cooler, from at least where I'm from, significantly cooler up north. But yeah, yesterday morning, as you had said, we had that overnight rain. It was quite damp throughout the morning. It's still cold, 40 degrees here trackside, but beautiful blue skies and sun. We're going to get up to probably 60 degrees today, so a stark contrast to the conditions these drivers faced in morning warm-up yesterday.
Now, this group on the racetrack here is not all of your K100 Juniors, for those that are just joining us. This is only one half of them. It is a record turnout, 316 entries, we believe is the final number here this weekend. The previous record absolutely shattered. 285 was the previous high back in January for the SKUSA Winter Series a year ago. And here this weekend, just a multitude of the momentum of American karting here, as well as South America. This is their winter break, their 1 week off for all the kids from school, so that definitely plays a factor, and I think without a doubt that's part of the reason why we've got 65 total KA Juniors. Here's a look at how the first group ended up in warm-up, Rob, but massive, massive numbers. Great news across the board.
Yeah, and great news across the board in all categories, as you had said. Even some of the classes like a Master Shifter, where we haven't had a ton of karts over the last couple of years, we've got more there as well. And I like the fact, same thing with the KA100 Master class. We've had 6 or 7, 8 maybe. We've got 15 here. So I like seeing the big categories. I like seeing drivers come out and get things underway. And I think it feels like everybody was ready to get to go with 2025. You know what I mean? They had their Christmas break. We had the stuff after the Super Nationals, that time off. People just felt like they were ready to go racing again, which is good. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. It was a short break, but at the same time, you definitely start to miss it a little bit. Just enough, right? We just need about 2 weeks or so, and then all of us racers, we're itching to get back to the racetrack here in OrlandoKartCenter. Provided us with some awesome racing action yesterday in KA Junior to kick things off. They had 2 mains, so it's a little bit of a different format for these junior drivers. With 65 of them, we obviously don't want to send all of them into this Turn 1-2 complex, so with SuperKarts USA in the past, when they've had junior classes or mini classes, they've been the 2 at least that I can remember at the Winter Series going beyond the cap. They've run split pre-finals, which is what you'll see today, split warm-up, split quali, of course, but then they run a last chance qualifier, which is about the pre-final distance, and then the main event. In today's case, and yesterday as well, it's a full distance B main, but there's no transfer. And part of that, of course, was to try and, not crack down, but maybe take away that thought process of do or die and throwing the go-kart to the wind.
Yeah, kind of minimize, as you said, the do or die nature of a last chance qualifier when you're around the bubble somewhere. We saw a lot of drivers, of course, getting into incidents. Now you're going to get a little bit of that in the pre-finals, because the pre-finals are to a certain extent do or die. As you had said, Xander, top 22 drivers transfer straight into the A main, everybody else running the B main. But at least you're going to run that full B main as well. So even if you didn't make it into the A, you're getting a full distance main event in that B main. We saw a number of drivers were really able to maximize that and get some really good results that will hopefully provide some momentum coming into Sunday here today.
Now talk about the weather here today. The sun's shining, but it is not a warm day yet. We did have some good days throughout the week. This cold front that has swept across the country has still affected us down here in sunny central Florida, so at least the surface temps will be a little better. But it's still a cool morning to kick things off for round number 2 of the SKUSA Winter Series, although I'd expect it to probably end up being a pretty nice day by the time we get to the afternoon. For now, though, it's slippery.
Perfect example right there, Xander. I was going to say, it's very Super Nationals-esque. You know, when you roll out as the opening class at the Super Nationals and it's 40 degrees trackside, that's where we are right now. It's 40. The grip levels are going to be low, and I was surprised to see a lot of people out on the track before warm-up this morning. A number of drivers were doing track walks to maybe just have a look at what they had saw yesterday, asking for just a little bit more today. So a couple of drivers have gone around here on cold tires.
Another one, Katowski.
Yep.
Man, what a heartbreak it was for this kid yesterday. Jack Katowski yesterday was running as high as 3rd in his pre-final and then got spun around battling in the main group. Ended up tagging the wall. By the time he got back going, he was outside the transfer zone to the A main, went to the B main, and on the first lap of the B main, rough luck struck again. The TKG Beryl Art USA driver is hoping for a reset, and that's at least the one good part of this format, and I think one part that the racers have come to still appreciate here, even with the longer days that's been traditional of the SKUSA Winter Series and Pro Tour, and that's having 2 finals, a full reset on Sunday. You know, the massive numbers across the board has forced every American major event to kind of reevaluate their weekend structure. The U.S. Pro Kart Series has gone to Friday qualifying, 3 heats and a main event on Sunday. The Stars Championship Series, same thing, Friday qualifying, 2 heats. They do a pre-final Sunday and then a main, or a pre-final Saturday afternoon. SKUSA has held strong by trying to maintain double mains for as many classes as possible through the Winter Series, through the Pro Tour. It's made some long days for us, some long days for the staff. But if you're Jack Katowski, you really appreciate that on a weekend like this.
Well, I had a chance to run the Summer Nationals a couple of years ago with Rawls Performance Group in the KA100 Master Class. And for me, I really enjoyed it as well, right? Because I don't get a lot of seat time. So I got 2 full days of racing. I was able to warm up, qualify, pre-final, final on the Saturday. And when I came back on Sunday, I was a lot quicker out of the gate. So for me, and for a lot of these drivers, I think in the first race of the year, the Winter Series, even going into the Pro Tour, it gives you an opportunity to have that next day. And that's what we talked about in this class here in KA100 Junior. The drivers who went to the B main, who got that momentum, maybe passed a bunch of karts, and were able to have a good B main, they're going to come in here with some confidence and momentum and be able to approach qualifying maybe a little bit differently.
Let's look at the times here early in the warm-up. Augustus Toniolo, the first one across the line to kind of set a good pace there at a 101.318. And now they will start to shuffle around him. Julian Rivera, a 1:06. Felipe Jesus Benito, Tyrone Kemper Jr. there on the SCR Red Speed up and into the top 5 as well. So first few laps going by. Here's a look at Gabriel Balog and Max Weiland, teammate to him. I believe that's Balog in the 881 with Weiland's suit on. Max and Gabriel may have had a little growth spurt and changed out the gear, but I think the 881 is Gabriel. Either way, we'll switch gears here to a kid, one of many, sporting some new colors this season, and I believe a new helmet to boot. Tyrone Kemper Jr. there on that SCR Red Speed. So
that's good yesterday, too.
He was.
Very impressive.
He has been, I think, knocking on the door of a big opportunity to what he's got in store this year.
Agreed.
Kind of come his way. Last season and the year before, him and his dad had been kind of doing their own thing for a lot of it. And anytime you talk to Tyrone Sr., you felt confident in Junior's ability. He said, look, man, I'm just waiting for one of these teams to call. He's like, I ain't going there on our own. I know what we've got. But he held strong, believed in his kid's ability. And this year, they've got a good home at Speed Concepts Racing. And like you said, that kid looked really good yesterday.
He was right in the hunt for sure. Number of drivers, of course, working their way forward. What is a bit of a new look junior categories. Xander and I talked a lot about that yesterday with so many of the top junior drivers either moving up into the senior classes, some of them moving over into car racing as well. It's given us a couple of graduating drivers up front, but for the most part, a lot of new faces we're seeing inside the top 5 and the top 10. That'll make for an exciting 2025. I saw a couple drivers hiking the inside rear tire. They're really working those tires, and that's what you got to do in these conditions to get these tires at the temperature.
Speaking of drivers joining the junior ranks, we're following Marco Samet and Julian Rivera. Samet there in the blue and yellow Brandon Jarsicrack Racing machine, and Julian Rivera for Ursuline Racing, his first outing with that group. They both will jump to first and third. Big lap at the end there. Great job by our camera crew picking up just off the eyeball test who they thought would be quick. They'll go to first and fourth. A few more crossing the line. Isaac Mountkewitt there to fifth. Big lap out of Ruben Gutierrez. He'll go into the top 10. Edward Kennedy up there as well. Drew Jensen. Alexander Vanchev jumps into the top 5, X30 Junior top qualifier from yesterday. Third fastest in KA Junior Group 2 warm-up. Isaac Payne, another mini graduate, moving over from the Trinity Karting Group camp to the Brandon Jarsacrack Racing LN Kart. 6th for him. Drew Jensen, Felipe Jesus Benito, quick early, drops down to 10th at the end. Indeed, Gabriel Balog, he's going to be mixing us up all day, Rob. He's got a Max Weiland suit on, 881. Gabriel Balog there on the Magic Kart. Victor De Allen Car with the AM Racing Team, Mateo Calderon, Martin Jaramillo, and Sandro Truccio. Your top 15 from Q1 in KA Junior. KA Seniors on deck, folks. Lots of racing, but first we've got to let them warm up and let them qualify. You're watching it all, and we're here all day. Rob Howden, myself, Xander Clements on Kart Chaser. We'll be right back after this. Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this Brandon business, okay? Brandon this, Brandon that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
warm-up underway for the first of two groups, or for altogether, sorry. KA 100 Senior, used to having the two groups there for KA Junior, throws us off for a minute. It's a short warm-up session, though. Only 4 minutes on the timer, and lots to break down from yesterday's main event. Rob, you were on the call along with Alexander Searle, and for a minute, it looked about locked up and in the hands of that man right there, Jose Carlos Hernandez. Or actually, these are his teammates here, Sebastian Garzon, and then the 970 of Jose Carlos Hernandez right there. He had a huge lead, but slowly but surely, Frankie Mossman on that Jay Howard driver development Kart Republic tracked him down, and I mean, it was a big gap he had to close on in. It was phenomenal to watch, and well, KA Senior has always provided us some big moments here. Take a look back to the first Winter Series broadcast that we had back from 2022, the opening weekend of the SKUSA Winter Series. It was one of our first ever Kart Chaser broadcasts, and KA Senior back then gave us a lot to talk about going back on into it. So 35 seconds left here in this, and let's take a look back.
They're into their staging lanes. Carson Morgan and Colin Lloyd will be on row 2. Connor Ferris, Josh Holtz, row 3. Gia Cicero, Aiden Rudolph, row 4. Field set. Green, green, green. 3 now. Everybody trying to find a bit here. One driver further off the racetrack, going off further back. And there's a move for the lead early already. Peyton Phillips diving to the inside of the apex of turn number 8. Morgan's going to work his way up. And over-under for Morgan. He goes 3-1 as he's able to get to the inside of both Phillips and Fletcher. Lloyd right there. Finnegan Bailiff is the guy on the move right now. He's moved up a couple of spots.
But you were telling me about some struggles that you're having. Do you want to just
Cool for me, but it's really like crazy because so it says like, oh, it's gonna rain, but then you gotta change everything because
miss a lap of the action. Jeremy Fletcher going back to P1, but
make this move. It's gonna be. Oh, there he goes.
There it is. Oh, nicely done. It's a contact between Terlecki and Fletcher coming through turn number 6. Another driver goes out. That's the teammate Josh Holtz. Down to the bottom. Fletcher's right there as well. Here we go, side by side. Rudolph gets a better run out of the corner. 3 wide into turn number 10. Rudolph comes across. Rudolph gets the spot coming through. Some contact going through. It's Bailiff up into second. Here comes the battle for the line. Top 5 right there. Over top of the curbing. Rudolph's going to try to block to the inside. Across the line. Rudolph with the win.
What a finish it was then here and yesterday as well. A great finish, Rob, between Jose Carlos Hernandez and Frankie Mossman. Another one for the ages here from Orlando.
I was really impressed with Mossman. Listen, Hernandez had the lead, as you said, with turning great laps. Mossman just came alive. That kart was perfect. The setup was bang on. He was good over the end of it and really chased him down. And when he got there, he made some fantastic passes. It was just good racing up front. And for the old Jay Howard crew, I was pretty happy for them. But it's a really, really strong run for Mossman. What we've come to expect from him when he's on his game.
Yeah, I think this was a good redemption run for Frankie compared to the Super Nationals there. We've seen plenty of times Frankie, I think, have the speed and the race. Well, he ends up making one miscue. Kind of lets the emotions get to him, let the passion of going for the race win. That was one of the smartest races I've seen Frankie Mossman drive in a minute. And there's never been a question about that kid's raw talent or speed. But that was a mature, well-composed drive. There were many points in that race he could have got roped into the battles, like with Kai Hunter and Ty Fisher, that took them both out of contention. He didn't. He kept his head on. He pushed those drivers away, and even as the battle opened up, he kept his head down, didn't give up, drove forward and got JHED a win. And his teammate, Brad Matchman, who just went to 3rd here in his return to karting after who knows how long of a hiatus it was for Bradley. I'm sure he's probably done some testing when he goes back home, but first American kart race since his Super Nats win in Micro.
Yeah, Brad he actually ran in the F4 Series last year and will be running this year in USF Junior. Maybe USF 2000, I think, is where he's going to be this year. And yeah, you mentioned that. He was a former Super Nationals winner in the Micro Swift category. Great to have him back here and very strong part of this Jay Howard driver development program that has rolled out here with Kart Republic and was very quick yesterday as well. So I'm excited to see how things play out after one day. Everybody's kind of settled in. We've seen the drivers who are kind of up front. We expect some other to kind of move their way forward because there were drivers that had trouble and had to fight their way back forward after issues in the pre-final. They put on some really good shows coming forward, Henry Wheeler being one of them. So I'm excited to see how it all plays out. Blake Nash was very quick yesterday as well. Leonardo Scorpioni came from deeper in the field after issues. He was 5th here in the warm-up this morning. I think he'll be in the fight for the race win as well. There's a lot of names that I think we'll see kind of rise to the top that may not have been there yesterday as well.
Talk about Steven Eisert, fourth here in the Speed Sense Motorsports X-Spree. This is a return to familiar territory for Steven with Austin Elliott and the Northern California-based operation. The crew that got him his big win that landed him the Sodi Racing USA opportunity for 2024. Now he's back kind of with his family once again, if you will. And fourth place here in the warm-up, half a tenth off. He'll be a factor today. But it looks like, based on the times, a lot could be. And last year's vice champion Finn Bailiff down in 10th there. A quiet Saturday for Finnegan Bailiff, but another consistent run out of the TKG Barrel Art driver. He just always finds a way to kind of get there by the time the checkered flag falls.
Indeed. One of the big movers yesterday, of course, was Sebastian Garzon, who had the issue in the pre-final. I think he was plus 32, started way deep in the field, was able to work his way up into the top 10. He was second in morning warm-up here, so I think Garzon's going to be another driver. He and Henry Wheeler both had big runs from the field after problems in the pre-final. Those are two drivers I think will be in the top 10, or even in the top 5.
Here's a look down to the micro Swift drivers, the youngest stars, and boy, did they put on a show yesterday, especially our front two, Marcelo Flores, Lennox Lockhart. They were a blast to watch, a blast to call, and after both awesome battles they had, they were in great spirits. And well, here's a look at Lennox, and behind him there, Hudson Howard, I believe, on the JHCD Kart Republic as well, ready to do battle once again. There's Enzo Ramos on the Paralymp, engines fired for the 7 to 10-year-olds, and another full house for Micro Swift. So these kids are full of energy this morning, but I mean, even after win, lose, or draw in all of the sessions yesterday, it was just positive energy and great reaction from all on track, in the scales, and like you said, Rob, probably 5 minutes later playing football with kids.
That's exactly what it was, right? They come off the track, they're hanging out with each other in the paddock as well, having some fun. A little waves here as they get ready to roll back out onto the track, but really one of the best races yesterday, right? They had such a good battle, even in the pre-final as well. The main event was a big one between Flores and Lennox, as you had mentioned, Lockhart, and listen, I expect to see more again. Other drivers will step to the forefront. Looking forward to seeing how it plays out, but let's get them out here. Let's keep them on the racetrack. Let's have not too many spins. There's one. Number of drivers, of course, we've already said, everyone in the category so far having a little bit of trouble with the conditions. It is sunny and blue skies indeed, but it is cold, just 41 degrees trackside here now, so it will take a couple of laps for these guys to get some heat built into these Avincos to get that grip they're looking for. A couple more spinners top of the left of the screen there, as you can see. It's tough to get back on the power here when it's so slippery out there.
It's probably going to stay this way, I think, until we get to some of the heavier and faster divisions to really lay down some rubber. The KA seniors will probably have helped a little bit, but having those heavier KA masters on the racetrack, having the pro shifters out will help a lot. The pro X30s are on deck. They've also got that softer Avinco red tire like the pro shifter and shifter master drivers. I think that'll play a huge factor into helping warm this track up and lay down some grip once again. And typically in those classes, you'll also see them maybe go to new tires on the Sunday morning, and that may be why we get a little more grip into qualifying as well, because laying down another layer of rubber on top of the racetrack to try and get that mock quali run in. I don't think you'll see that for a lot of these cadet classes more than anything. Like you said, Rob, they're trying to just get a little bit of grip in the car, and going out with brand new tires, you're going to waste the first 3 laps just getting that kind of plastic coating off. So even right there, you see the lack of grip for the 272 of Mason Brody, one of the newcomers to the SKUSA Winter Series here. First time I believe I can remember saying his name, so this may be opening national weekend for Mason with the Nash Motorsports EOS Kart. I know it's not an opening weekend, though, for Danny O'Gara in the MPG Motorsports Kart Republic. About as hot and cold of a day as you can have yesterday. It was kind of a middle of the run qualifying effort for Danny. Then he made up for it with an awesome drive in the pre-final to go from the mid-teens into the top 5. And then in the main, it seemed like things kind of went back in the wrong direction. Not sure whether it was speed or a decision or whatever it was. He didn't really have the pace to fight for the win like he did a year ago here at the Winter Series. And I'm sure that, you know, this year for Danny is looked at by himself and the family, Andy and Sarah, as well as this is going to be kind of a swan song year in micro, and maybe a big year for him after last year really getting his confidence. And now, okay, it's time to perform in the same way that we saw this young man do that yesterday.
Yeah, indeed. This is I like when families decide to keep their driver for that one more year if they're age eligible, because it just makes sense. Give them a chance to win a bunch of races, learn to run up front, learn to lose lead and take a lead back. Same goes for being in a championship fight, being in that season-long championship fight as well. So I think it's important for these drivers to get a chance to stay for that one more year and really start to learn what it takes to win races and win championships.
It's a cool morning, but it is a lovely morning that we get to talk to our good buddy Alexander Searle, any morning that is, here at the racetrack. And Alex is down on pit lane. He'll be chatting with us throughout the day with a number of the top drivers as well. And while we keep our eyes on Mason Brody, and that was Hudson Howard and Lennox Lockhart all together, well, 2 minutes to go in micro. Alex, good morning to you as we head down to pit lane.
Different than what we saw yesterday, right? This is more of the temperature, the racetrack that you would expect to see on Friday, right? With the warm-up sessions and the practices and the happy hours that we saw on Friday. The likes of Mateus Morgado were very quick in temperatures like this. Yesterday, different day. Gloomy skies, wet actually for the first half of the day. Then in the early afternoon, the track kind of came back to the drivers who are more comfortable with a warmer racetrack. So nonetheless, this is going to be a re-racking of the brain here for some of these mechanics, these drivers that have to kind of re-figure out how to drive this place. We come here often enough that they shouldn't be too much of an issue, but again, different track, different type of temperatures out there on the racetrack. So for drivers that weren't so quick in the warmer temps and the humid temps, like Danny Formal was mentioning yesterday, this could be a factor later on today. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Alex. As always, appreciate all the details that he's able to get us from right in the middle of the pit area, because Rob and I are basically locked up.
Did you guys
here.
have me? Okay.
For all of the input that he's able to give us, because again, we're kind of locked up in the box here for 14 hours and then about a 30-minute break to go and rush and get something to eat. So Alex is the one that's able to kind of fill us in of what things are like down on pit lane.
Yeah, the man on the ground, right? We getting a chance to talk to the drivers before they get into the carts, as they get out of the carts, give us some good information on the track itself, how it's developing throughout the day, and just kind of the insights from the drivers as they get ready to go into battle throughout the sessions here today.
Let's take a look now as the times have come to a close here in this Micro Swift opening warm-up. Dutch Westbrook has gone to the top on the Bennick. Yesterday for Dutch was close, but no cigar. He was on the cusp of, I think, really being able to get up to Lennox Lockhart bit of a backup there in the scale area. I thought that was a bit of a log jam from a crash. No, they're just a bit behind with how quick the sessions are rolling. Marcelo Flores as well, but Dutch was close. He enters this year, I think, in the same kind of vein as Danny O'Gara, looking to have a big breakout year. Brody Stoffel as well returns for his second season in micro. Dominic Nagel, Zev Gottschalk, check out all those Bennicks. 1, 4, 5 here in the opening warm-up, but Dutch especially 4/10 clear of the field.
Yeah, excellent job for Dutch Westbrook. And although, warm-up is warm-up, it's always nice to be closer to the front when you get things rolling to start a new day. Lennox Lockhart right back up there where he was, as was Mauro Nario, who was in the middle of the fight as well. So, hey, listen, warm-up is great. Get yourself focused, clear out the cobwebs from a long night's sleep for the young drivers. But again, always nice to be up front and knowing you're going in the right direction.
How about Kit Bilofsky here? Welcome to the U.S. for the Energy Course Americas driver. He was one of the major players in yesterday's X30 Junior main event. And it was about a four-cart kind of dogfight from start to finish. I mean, I don't think there was a lot of moments in that race where you could really take your breath.
Xander, dogfight was the perfect word for that, because indeed it was. They were going back at each other. Every corner they were diving inside each other. There was a lot of over-unders, a little bit of bump and runs, a lot of defensive racing as well. I expect a lot more of this throughout the day.
Then on the other side of him here, you got young Travis Pettit entering his second full season aboard the TB Kart USA colors. And Ty Fisher did a great job doing that brand proud. And Travis was close many weekends, had a podium as well to boot at the latter half of the season. He was fast in the summer and fall of 2024. And now this year, he and his dad Adam are looking at for a potential breakout season. He wants to become one of the major players and household names for Junior in 2025.
Yeah, and I don't think you can discount the immersion we've seen out of the TV Kart brand as well. They're here. You know, we see Ty Fisher had a great Super Nationals. He's kind of been leading that charge, as you had said. Number of guys. You've been working with the TV Kart guys as well. Kyle Yuczynski, TV Kart USA, of course. Race Lab will be doing a lot of racing with that TV Kart, I believe, on the West Coast as well. But to have Travis Pettit right in the middle of the fight as well, we're going to see that green card up front quite a bit in 2025.
Yeah, Kyle shot me a text yesterday. He said, my boys are doing good here on Friday. Hopefully we can have a good Saturday. They were close. I think they'd look for a little more today. Here's William Kim. Ryan Perry Motorsport caught up with team owner Ryan Perry earlier this week. He said, well, it's been, this year, I think, a bit of an uptick and the end of a big transition period. Of course, he relocated his entire operation, his family, his wife, and his kids over to North Carolina from California with all the racing that's been going on out east here in the Midwest. Of course, the West Coast, we're expecting a big boom with all the new venues that are starting to really bring some hype out there. But for Ryan, he said that for a little bit of that transition period, as the likes of Carson Morgan, Cole Morgan, Jeremy Fletcher, and some of his other superstars started to move out or move on, he didn't have that feeder system in place at that time from the local and regional level as he was setting his roots up in North Carolina. Now he does. He's back up to 9 drivers here this weekend. He's open for another banner year and to slowly continue to build. And, of course, he's partnered with the Nitro Kart operation led by Cody Johnson, and they've got their superstar Parker Ives moving on to some big races this year, but also a lot of drivers that are taking up the reins on the red and black colors led by Nick Tucker. And, talking about taking up the reins here, no A.J. Myers means it's time to step up. Max Weiland, let's see what he can do here this weekend as he enters what could be his final year in the junior ranks.
Yeah, I think about watching Max and Andy Rule run at the Mark Harris Memorial 200 Enduro event at Newcastle last October, and how he kind of stepped up and was running against the Paulie Massiminos and the James Overbecks and Will Power and the crew that was up part of that event. He was just a young guy there and did a great job able to get on the podium with Andy. So I like seeing what he's doing here in junior, as you said, his final year likely in the junior category, making the move to senior potentially in 2026. And hey, he was right in the middle of the fight yesterday as well. And again, this is our first chance to see some of these drivers coming back for maybe their final, some coming for their first year in one category, some the final year where they're ready to kind of go out and do some winning.
And a part of that conversation, of course, of whether to jump up early or to stay down for one more year is not just around performance as well. It's about size.
Very true.
Andy Rule and Max Weiland probably had a refrigerator strapped to that thing to be able to do the Mark Harrison Memorial 200. I'm sure Max is probably looking to get in the gym a little bit, pound some protein shakes to make that senior transition.
I would not have wanted to pick that go-kart up throughout the weekend. No.
Thankfully, we were across the racetrack in the Champions Club. We were not going to get asked there.
Exactly that.
Here's Alexander Savage. Team U Race is one of the many teams that calls Orlando Kart Center home. Italo Silveira has a good contingent here this weekend. In fact, I think there's about 4 or 5 operations that really can call themselves based out of Orlando Kart Center. Major groups like Speed Concepts Racing come to mind, of course, but you've got the likes of the AKT Racing Team, another Central Florida-based group, LFB Racing, and now the Velocity Racing Soda USA operation that has a full-on shop and engine dyno here on property, who we were having fun chatting about yesterday. But a long way across the country, about as far as you can go and draw the line for Rollison Performance Group, but they've set up shop here, and without a doubt, they are fast. So whether they call OKC home or not, or if it's home for 6 weeks,
exactly,
the boys in blue and pink are good.
There's a lot of guys that are calling OKC home for the next number of weeks, as we know, with the long run of events that are going to be happening here at the facility through January and February. But yeah, a long way from home for Mike Rollison and the crew. So many of the team players there are from up in the Pacific Northwest, from Oregon. The trailer goes on the road for 100 and something days, 120, 150 days at a time. Eventually gets its way back. They go to work on it. They head back out on the road again. That's just really part and parcel of how it is to run a national program right now. So many series, so many races to run throughout the year. They end up just being on the road and rolling for, as I said, 3-4 months at a time.
That was Alessandro Truscio on screen. Talk about being on the road. Well, he's probably more in the skies than on the road these days. That young man grew up in Miami, Florida, but dual citizenship over in France, where his family's from, as well as over here in the U.S. And the last couple of years, he and his father, Teddy, and as well as his mom, have all kind of split around where Alessandro needs to be, whether dad stays in the U.S. and mom goes with Sandro over to Italy to race, or vice versa. A globe-trotting calendar for Alessandro Truscio that's only gotten us the privilege to watch him race here really during the winter in the U.S. for the Super Nats nowadays and the Winter Series, but he's a Winter Series champ. and in his second SuperKarts USA junior event, I believe his second overall major junior race. He was a factor yesterday, kind of knocking on the door, nipping on the heels of that main contingent up at the front. Maybe today another improvement, maybe a leap forward in qualifying, and we could see a rookie start to really bring the fight to some of these front runners in the junior category, like Alexander Vanchev, like Kit Malofsky, who was impressive on debut, and like Augustus Toniolo, who has already won junior races here in the U.S. for his limited calendar up in North America, as the Brazilian spends a good amount of his time traveling the globe as well.
Kit Malofsky, one of the drivers we mentioned already earlier on the energy, a number of energy drivers here this weekend. He was right in the middle of that fight yesterday. We expect more of that to happen today. We'll see which drivers, as we had said when we talked about the last categories, are able to make that jump forward after kind of setting the baseline yesterday. Getting a feel for this track here at OKC. A number of drivers fighting in qualifying a little bit off. You got to have that extra pace. This is a tough place to pass. We have seen some drivers come from deep in the field, but in terms of being in the group, we've seen a lot of aggressive racing where guys have been able to pull away. There are a lot of passing opportunities, but when you're super deep in the field, you start getting some of that chaos, and the front group is able to seems to be able to get away pretty cleanly. So you need to be qualifying up front, otherwise you give yourself a ton of work to work your way back forward.
Let's go back down to the pits here. We've got Pro X30 on grid, while X30 Junior continues to warm up the racetrack there with Lucas Palacio on screen at the 705. Alex?
There, James, coming off of stout year, senior, make the Pro X30. How would you rate your day yesterday?
It was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Started to pick up some pace, especially after the practice days. I feel like on Wednesday, we practiced on Wednesday this week, and I feel like I made really good progress on that day, but then after that, I just kind of plateaued almost and couldn't really find anything. But yesterday, made a lot of progress, had a good qualifying in 9th. Had a little bit of a rough heat race, got moved from behind on the start, but made my way forward after that, and then just kept moving forward in the final, and had a really good run shaping up. I was up to 6 at one point, I think, which I couldn't be more happy with that. And it's just so different, honestly. I thought it was going to be kind of the same, if not the racing would be a little bit calmer, but it's anything but. And I don't know if it's just because of some of the Europeans that are over here, but it was crazy, and it's extremely difficult. I did not expect it to be this hard, but I mean, the guys in this field are incredible. They're so talented, and it really is difficult, and it's hard to put into words how hard it is. You have to be perfect to really make any progress at all. So it's been a fun challenge, and honestly, I kind of want to do more of it now.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love hearing that from James Overbeck, because here's a driver who has been at the forefront of the KA 100 ranks over the last couple of years, of course, winning the SKUSA Championship last year. Really kind of focused insight on his thoughts, Xander, on moving up to the Pro X30 category, how tough it was, how all these drivers are so good, and you almost have to be perfect. He was in the middle of the fight, got shoveled off the track at one point and fought his way back on, but just a really honest kind of preview of what he thinks. He wants to do more racing, but he's the preview of how hard it is to be able to run in this class.
Yeah, his future's a bit undetermined, and this one kind of being I wouldn't call it maybe surprise, but not planned Pro X30 debut. He was one of many that got caught off guard by how quickly the entries filled up in KA Senior. But like you said, and like you mentioned, I think for himself and maybe for some of the people in the paddock, a better performance on debut than expected. The classes do vary a bit in style, and like you said, there are so many good drivers through the field in the KA class. I think, to me, that you can get away with a few more bobbles and hiccups because the drafting effect kind of keeps you close, and naturally that keeping the racing close means there's more passing, which means there's less kind of clean individual laps that the leaders are able to do. I mean, even with the battling that Ryan Norberg and Joe Turney did, they would only do it in one corner. They would then manage to run still a perfect lap the rest of the lap. And as Olin Galley and Austin Garrison, maybe only a tenth or two off the best of Joe and Ryan, they would only get maybe one lap to close in, and then those guys would get right back to single file. So that class, I think, magnifies, just like how Pro Shifter and Master Shifter do, that you've got to be on your game start to finish. you can't bank on the main group battling and bringing you back in the fight.
And listen, these are the elite single-speed drivers in North America. And, of course, we bring in guys like Ty Hunt. We bring in guys like Joe Turney. All these other guys that come on in from the internationally, from whether it's the UK or the South America, Australia, you name it. It's just, again, it's the absolute elite drivers. And when you're moving up from the KA 100 category, which has been that kind of that little lower level where you can potentially jump out of a junior into a KA and then move your way up into the pro category, it's pro. It's pro for a reason. And that's a great, again, some great insight from James Overbeck on just how excited he is about taking up that challenge to jump up to the next level.
Speaking about jumping up, same way, unplanned debut for Colin Lloyd on the Speed Concepts Racing Pro X30 debut for him. He is lined up behind Paulie Massimino here for warm-up. Colin was a top 10 driver throughout the entire day yesterday, involved in that kind of midfield scrum for 5th on back. Paulie was as well, and well, you got to go back through the years to kind of see how this class has developed into the powerhouse and juggernaut that it is in talent. Here's a look back at the 2023 SuperKarts USA Winter Series main event from Pro X30 with some familiar faces and some that won't be here today as they have moved upwards and onwards. It was one heck of a fight back then that we got to witness with Joe Turney's debut to the U.S. here. He and Ryan Norberg, Austin Garrison, they were fun to watch. Rob, you got to call a good bit of the battles, and this was kind of the introduction to what has now blossomed into a fantastic 2-year rivalry amongst Ryan and Joe of some of the best in the world versus some of the best in the U.S. But at the same point, we've got some of the best in the world still back racing at that time too. Mateus Morgado hot off his world championship year that year. ADT aboard a Parolin. Lots of different talent that we got to witness, but the big debut here for Joe Turney.
Yeah, we've seen a number of drivers come through in that Kart Republic program. You think back to a driver who we're going to see in Formula One, and Timmy Antonelli. He came over and dominated in the junior category in the KR. Joe Turney definitely put his name on the American map throughout that entire season as he was right in the middle of the fun. Battling, of course, one of the legendary drivers, one of the most successful single-speed karters we've had in the last 2 decades here in American karting.
And this was off of Ryan Norberg's arguably best year, 2022, where he and RPG were basically unbeatable. And then we go to the first race of the season, and Joe Turney gets the win. And then this was the Sunday main that was just unreal. I mean, there were about 10 different drivers fighting for the lead and the win. And at one point, Diego Ramos and Mateus Morgado had a chance to break away, but well, Dono sneaked through the fray, and it was a bit of foreshadowing towards the 2023 Super Nationals when Donovan Bonilla pulled off a stunner on the entire field when once again a fight broke out. He slipped through and got the main win. Then we went through to February. This race here, Rob, you got to call with Henry Beaudet as I was split amongst the big track and the go-kart track, and Joe, Ryan, Austin back at the forefront once again.
Yeah, a little bit of different branding as well for Joe Turney that weekend on the DAT branded chassis, but it didn't change anything in terms of his performance. He was right in the middle of the fight. You saw these drivers going right back at it. Austin Garrison in there as well, Ryan Norberg. This was just good old school racing. It's what I like about Homestead. There's so many places to overtake. A lot of over-unders happen with the 90-degree corners that were there. You can see how heated this race was throughout the weekend.
Yeah, right there, Ryan Norberg trying to set the tone, trying to get himself his first win of that season. Well, he and Joe Turney washed out so much that, once again, look at that. Dono slips through. In this case, it was for second. Aiden and Grata in the middle of the fight. Eventually, the pair would fade backwards to 4th and 5th. But all of that was enough for Austin Garrison to win on the national stage for the first time more than 5 years, and it began really this kickoff of a fantastic partnership with him and Speed Concepts Racing that concluded last year with a championship as well at the U.S. Pro Kart Series. That was a big, big day, though, for the SCR boys.
Yeah, listen, when you can win at that level, you talked about the fact before there was almost a perfect year for RPG and Ryan Norberg, for them to be able to come out and grab a victory here early on. I think that's one of the things about the Winter Series. It can kind of set a tone for a team. It can help a team, help a driver break out and potentially get the momentum rolling into the full season.
Now for Austin Garrison, that second day, though, on weekend number 2 was not so good. You saw him get knocked off into the dirt. he actually had a good shot at the championship going into this day, but once he got sent to the weeds, it was down to these two drivers of who would win the race and who would win the title. And it was another Ryan Norberg, Joe Turney head-to-head fight. Mateus Morgado there on screen, best of the rest. Thomas Neveau was there as well. We missed him for the Winter Series. I heard he was hoping to be able to be here to help TKG, the team that he ran with back then, make their switch over to Beer Allard, but unable to be here for January. But this battle, once again, 2-0 at that time on head-to-head fights. Joe Turney ended up with the win, got the championship as well, got Kart its first win on U.S. soil, and Kart Republic taking the fight to RPG to begin what was a banner year for Joe Turney, and at that time Trinity Karting Group. Now he's got himself over at the Jay Howard driver development camp, and he's back to his winning ways again.
Yeah, it was all the same stuff, right? He was right in the middle of the fight, was able to take over the lead, and eventually going for that win. He and Norberg battled it out all day yesterday, and there's no indication it's not going to happen again today.
Those two are hands down the two most decorated drivers and the two odds-on favorites when it comes to an X30 field. In the last 3 years, anywhere that you look on the fence line, there's going to be stopwatches specifically on those two drivers on any given session. To Ryan's credit, in the interview yesterday, he admitted that part of what hurt him a little bit was getting knocked back in that pre-final, having to fight back forward and use up his stuff a little bit more. Joe Turney would be aggressive, as we saw off the start and the restart, making some pass attempts, but he wasn't necessarily, I think, having to push nearly as hard to run down packs in front of him like Ryan was in the middle session of the day. And both of them still complaining even with how much they had worn down their stuff by the time the main went, that they were struggling to get front end bite when they were follow each other.
And Xander, that you kind of mentioned, we were looking at the way both karts were handling the corners, that they were set up quite a bit differently. It looks like Ryan was the fronts and Joe was more the rears. And one of the big parts of the racetrack that Ryan struggled on was turn 13. He wasn't really able to get that strong rotation coming through 13, lost a lot of run coming out of there, which took away the opportunity for any kind of overtakes in turn 1, 2, and 3. So we'll see. I'm sure every team's going to do a little bit more. Both the Jay Howard Driver Development crew and the Ross Performance crew will do the best they can to see if they can't get those karts a bit quicker. And here's an example of it. Doesn't matter what class it is, everybody's still struggling with the grip out there right now in the cold temps.
Yeah, that's 3 spinners so far. Brooks Shambo, Sawyer Roussel, and I think one more has gone around off the outlap in warm-up. Oh, we've got another one off. That is the number 74, Tony Kart.
Tizano Rosso Orcel.
So another one biting or getting bit by the cold and slippery track conditions here for the morning. See, there's JT, even Enzo Vidmontien a bit too hot into that hairpin, gave Joe a little love tap. But both are still warming things up, and right behind them, Caden McQueen, Henry Baudet said he was one to watch. If you guys thought Joe Turney was good, if you thought Oliver Hodgson was good, this kid is next level. Well, yesterday he looked solid through the pre-final and was lined up third for that main. He originally got around Austin Garrison, then Garrison went back in on him, and then things started to kind of unravel, unfortunately, for the Energy Corsa Americas driver, because just like that, he was getting no love from the rest of the Pro X30 field. So that contact sent him so far back outside the cameras that as well, we missed out on what ultimately sent him to a backup frame today. He had broken the seat strut on the frame portion of the Energy Kart, so they've decided rather than trying to weld it, to go to a different set of tubes, and he just got sent into the wall by Enzo Vidmontien.
Good placement, perfect camera shot there. I'm sure Enzo did not want to get that picked up, but literally came in and overcooked it in the brakes, got in the back of McQueen, and as he was starting to rotate and turn into the corner, a little shot, and away he went.
Yeah, well, Enzo Vidmontien, that's not what he would have, I think, hoped to do here to start this Sunday.
No.
He ended up with a DNF yesterday. I think he did not make any friends either. If anything, probably was the driver that most were targeting, because he got sent off either by, from what we heard, reports from either Paulie Massimino or Jacob Kolar. One of the two senior veterans had Enzo in front of them, and Enzo, I think, was did something that frustrated them. Paulie ended up getting the incident responsibility penalty, but did not get to finish. And that's one thing that I think some kids, all of them, attack their rookie season and senior a little bit differently. Enzo last year, you could tell that he was budding with confidence. and I think he thought coming into senior he wasn't going to have to give any respect. And well, here, this was probably just more of a straight-up miscue and mistake.
So.
We saw the lap before where he accidentally got into Joe Turney, and you can see Enzo even completely missed the corner. So I think he's probably struggling with the brakes. You kind of saw him looking down at his left foot, but at the same point, I mean, that's not going to do you any favors. And smart thing to do right there is once you get into the scale line, make sure you go walk right over to Caden, even though it's not going to be a fun conversation. Say, look, man, I'm sorry. I totally screwed that up. I apologize. And, you know, hopefully I didn't hurt, you know, your new go-kart that you just went over to.
That's exactly right. And, yeah, that's a conversation you have to have, especially with these young drivers when they do come up. Because, again, you're coming out of a place where you've run up front in juniors for a number of years, right? So you're used to being up front. You're used to going for race wins. But you're coming into the big show, right? And listen, we talked about the fact that you get a guy like James Overbeck jumping up as a champion in KA 100 senior and moving into the pro category, talking how tough it is. You come right out of juniors into pro, you're right in the middle of the lion's den, right? And you literally, you got to earn the respect there. And I know over the years, some drivers have come in and kind of rough things up and expect, I think, to get the respect simply because of the success they had in juniors. The pro guys don't think that way. You've got to earn your respect. You got to show that you're going to race me clean. Otherwise, I'm going to drive you off the racetrack. We're all going to kind of gang up on you a little bit. That's just the way it's always been, right? You got to earn your stripes when you go from junior to senior.
Ryan Norberg topping the charts here and by a good bit over Levi Sangera on the energy. Joe Turney ends up third. Caden McQueen, even after the love tap from Enzo, ended up fourth overall. Colin Lloyd, another one for the rookies, ends up there in the fifth position. Paulie Massimino, sixth. I think a couple things had taken a moment to update. There it goes, as it'll populate on screen. Sangera up there to second, Turney, McQueen. So the overnight changes for the Energy boys at least were good in that warm-up. Levi Sangera as well, also probably on a backup frame today, or at least on some new parts after a very scary moment yesterday with Wyatt Downing. So happy to see Levi Sangera on the racetrack and sporty here today. Second in the warm-up for Pro X30. Amador Martinez, kind of a quiet yesterday for the rookie. Opening weekend, he ended up unfortunately out with James Overbeck in the dirt. And there it is right there. You saw Caden McQueen going up to chat with some of the mechanics on the catwalk. I thought for a moment he might have been chatting with Enzo, but more than anything, he's got a smile. So that's good. Even after all that, he's like, you know what? Okay, we're fast. I'm good.
Yeah, that's it. I'm P4. It kind of, being quick kind of changes everything, right? Kind of softens the blow a little bit there. McQueen ends up in fourth. Lloyd, fifth. Massimino, sixth. Martinez, seventh. Diego Ramos in eighth spot. Chase Gassiet Lee and Austin Garrison rounding up the top 10. Just morning warm-up doesn't mean anything. Qualifying is what sets the pace and starts the day officially. This is all about just kind of getting things dialed in. The temperatures are not going to be what we're going to have when we go racing. It'll be 20 degrees warmer when we eventually do go racing here this afternoon. So the bottom line is this is just to kind of get things rolling for the morning. I always think it's just a shakedown, clear out the cobwebs, get back focused because you're not going to learn a lot here in 40-degree temps.
Well, we called on the racetrack yesterday Joe Turney's win over Ryan Norberg, but ultimately Norberg had a pushback penalty from earlier in the race, and Alden Galley was disqualified for an engine infraction in tech with the spark plug violation. So Austin Garrison actually ends up with P2 points after yesterday. He was into the top 10, I think 5th in the pre-final from 25th on the grid, so an abysmal qualifying effort. Much better warm-up for Austin Garrison here today in the SCR Red Speed, but he still has a little more speed, I think, to find yet to challenge for the race win. So once again, consistent run, and just like we talked about Finnegan Bailiff earlier in KA Senior, Austin finds a way to get there when it matters the most.
Well, listen, you put him on the one hand of the top drivers in the country, right, in terms of single speed. There's the guys like the Norbergs, like the Garrisons that you just know are the top drivers wherever they go. If the kart's good, they're going to be in the fight. If it's not, they're probably still going to be in the fight, but they're going to have to work a little bit harder for it, right?
Let's take a quick commercial break here. As you can see, there's still a bit backlogged over in the scale area. That'll delay the next session, which will be KA 100 Master. But more warm-up sessions will return. Of course, you're watching Kart Chasers free coverage here for practice in the morning and qualifying, and then exclusive to KC Premium members, pre-finals, and B and A mains in the afternoon for round 2 of the SKUSA Winter Series. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? It's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA 100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here, told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental U.S.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're going to need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rib protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
I need a new 219 chain. I need a 77 tooth roof sprocket. I need some more chain lube, and I need it probably as soon as like tomorrow. Dude, are you even listening? Like, we need this to run this weekend.
Want anything else?
What do you mean?
I already got it in the car on Acceleration Kart Racing's online store, bro. All orders over $200 get free shipping.
Oh, throw in a set of tires.
Done.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free on orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Shop AKR.com.
Brandon, why are there all these charges
stop.
for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this branding business, okay? Branding this, branding that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here, told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental U.S.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're going to need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rim protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Morning warm-up continuing here at the Orlando Kart Center. You've seen in a number of shots, we've had a little bit of a backup in the scale line with so many karts here this weekend and banging through these short sessions, not able to get enough drivers through the scales enough to clear that area of the racetrack. But nonetheless, drivers in microstrip getting back out onto the racetrack once again for another session. Working our way through. Mini Swift drivers here as well on track. Dave Burgess, Macha, Benjamin Fernandez. Fernandez, of course, the victory yesterday. Getting closer to the start of our qualifying sessions, though. Schedule at this point here based on just the full extra time we've had in the section here. Zane Burgess quickest. Aston Wyatt in second. Wynn Godshock third. Cameron Johnson fourth. Yesterday winner Benjamin Fernandez in fifth. Maxwell Macha in the sixth position. Colton Schiegenberg in seventh. Enzo Di Gennaro eighth. Santiago Orioli in ninth. Colton Bruck in 10th. Jaden Francisco 11th. He was one of the hard chargers in yesterday's main event. Was able to work his way back up. So again, the morning warm-ups rolling through here on a cold morning in Orlando, Florida. 44 degrees here trackside. It was 40 when I rolled in here to the facility and knocked out the 1 minute flat for ekartingnews.com. It is not a warm morning, but it is going to get up to potentially 60 degrees. We might not see that, though, until the mid-afternoon. It's going to keep working its way up through the 40s and 50s before we get there. Zane Burgess, again, who was right in the middle of the fight yesterday. Quickest here in the cool temperatures, the slick conditions here at the 13 corner OKC layout. A lot of races coming here, as we know, over the next number of weeks. SKUSA, of course, will be back in early February for the back end, the finale rounds of this year's Winter Series, all dialing things in, getting these drivers ready to head to Texas for the first round of the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour. Speed Sports Racing Park will play host to that event. Looking forward to getting back to Houston, Texas for that on that amazing racetrack. But again, Burgess, Wyatt, Godshock actually moved Vega as we got a little bit of an update here now. Vega goes up to third, Godshock fourth, Cameron Johnson fifth. So dialing things in a little more. So again, drivers in the Pro and Master Shifter category on the grid and getting set to go. I'll have to make sure we have room for the karts to get off the racetrack over in the scales. But before we do that, one of the big stories here on the weekend, of course, was the late entry for Danny Formal to be part of the action here with PSL Karting, and pits him against the driver who he had to battle with here, of course, last year in Mateus Morgado. Let's have a little look back at the scraps we've seen before between these two championship drivers. Of course, the battle in the Winter Series last year. Amar Homestead Miami Motorplex. Morgado versus Formal. It was an aggressive Winter Series. Formal on the RPG Cosmic. Morgado on the PSL Karting Viral Arts. And just some textbook moves by both of these drivers here. Aggressive dives to the apex. Such fun to watch these drivers going at it. Alan Isambard in the battle there as well on the Sodi. Yeah, always exciting when you get this level of competition. Morgado again, look at that big dive bomb move to the inside on Formal coming into the final complex of corners at the racetrack there, the double rights. Yeah, these drivers have had some fun together, there's no doubt about that. And again, last year's Winter Nationals, I think, was kind of where it boiled over. We talked to Danny Formal about the issue those two drivers had in the main event there. Obviously, one of the big things, of course, on the weekend, and I talked to Danny Formal about it, that he was heated. They talked the next day, and now, of course, their teammates at PSL Karting had a great run yesterday. Both drivers very fast. Formal coming away with the victory. But Morgado, and even Danny talked about that, must have been an issue for Morgado, ended up being something we believe in the power plant. Not sure whether they got that diagnosed quickly. We were gone from the track by the time we were able to figure out exactly what happened there. But some trouble for Morgado. He has a technically issue-free day here. You know he's going to be right in the middle of the hunt with Formal to try to go back for a race win. Gavin Bailiff, the driver who just had the rough luck yesterday, got better and better throughout Friday and then into Saturday's action as well. Was right there in third spot, had third locked and loaded, and then a really freak part failure, component failure. And we've all heard of hubs breaking, right? That's no big deal. You shear the studs off the hub, whatever it may be. No, I went and looked at it myself. It literally sheared in half. So right halfway through the length of the hub, all the way around the circumference, completely sheared that hub off. I've never seen that in the 30 years I've been doing with this, so it was a massive surprise to me. I think most people said the same thing. They'd never seen that kind of an issue. So indeed, tough one for Bailiff, who was having a great run. I expect to see him take a fight and a run for potentially the podium as well here on Sunday. Vincenzo Saracino had some trouble in qualifying. He was at the back of the pre-final, worked his way forward, and had a really good run in the main event as well. Worked his way up into the top 5. Anthony Martello was in the scrap as well, as we know. Morgado and Formal, of course, were the drivers that were early battling on before Formal was able to pull away. Skitchy Barnes coming off his honeymoon here the last couple of weeks, rolling into town, and was able to come away with a race win in the Master Shifter main event. You're defending Winter Series Masters champion. So the Pro and Master Shifter category on for their quick warm-up, only that short 4-minute session, as we had said. PSL Karting and Velocity Racing by Sodi USA, the sponsors of these two shifter kart categories. Saracino now on top, Bailiff second, Martello third, White fourth, Formal fifth, sixth Isambard, seventh. Now Formal, as it kind of shakes around on me here, Formal goes from third to seventh to first, literally just as I'm looking at the last laps here. You'll see the checker flag as they come back around. Morgado now to the top. Formal, Saracino, Bailiff, and Presti. Couldn't even get the top 5 out before they were changing on me. I don't see Scott Barnes on the order here right now. Fastest Masters driver is Tyler Gilboa. Parshad Bagari, Rennie Martinelli, and Luis Chione is not on track. So only one Masters driver on track here for morning warm-up, Tyler Gilboa. And I don't see Skitchy Barnes. So not exactly sure what's happening here. If Barnes is entered for today. Is he pulled out for today? I don't know. But he's not on the order at all. Formal goes back to the top here. The checkered flag flies to end the session. This actually ends our morning warm-up as well. From here, we go right in to our qualifying sessions. Likely going to be about 10 minutes off the schedule now. As you know, we've cut the laps for both the pre-final and the final. A little long on those laps yesterday. Took us deep into the past the sunset. It was a late night yesterday. There's your fast driver in the warm-up there, Danny Formal, coming away with a 50.647 as your fast driver. He and Morgado, P1 and P2. Alan Isambard in third. Justin White fourth. Saracino fifth. Bailiff, Martella, Presti, Hagberg, and Gauthier rounding out the top 10. There you have it for morning warm-up, folks. Take a quick break. When we get back, it's time to go qualifying Drivers getting ready to roll out in the first of two groups for KA 100 Junior.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're gonna need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com? They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rip protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next, well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Time to get things underway for round number 2 of the 2025 SuperKarts USA Winter Series. As I said earlier, warm-up's just warm-up, nothing official. Now we go at it with qualifying. The first of 2 groups. Here in the KA 100 Junior category, this class brought to you by Orsalon Racing. Qualifying, I think, maybe even more important than it has been with the split pre-finals with the Flight A and Flight B, where the top 22 from each of the pre-finals go straight into the main event. You've got to qualify well. If you qualify poorly, you're not going to have that LCQ, that last chance, that extra opportunity after your pre-final to fight your way into the main event. You've got to get it done in the pre-final. So if you're qualifying near the tail of the field, that's where the urgency is. Obviously, when we go pre-final racing, which is going to be quite a bit of time from now, we don't start our first pre-final until about 11:25, 11:30 here today. So we're still quite a ways away from that, a couple hours away. But I'm telling you, it is crucial for these drivers here to get a good qualifying effort in. You got to be as far as you can up the order, at the very least somewhere in the low 20s, you know, for your pre-final. So you know you're at least going to be in that battle for a potential transition spot. So top 22 transfer from each of those pre-finals. Everybody else running the full-length B main. A little different approach for SuperKarts USA for this year's Winter Series. Did give a lot of the drivers who didn't make it into the main event a full-length distance to pass a bunch of karts and really get some momentum coming into Sunday. And I'll be interested to see which drivers maybe were able to leverage that, right? That had to run through that B main, but instead were able to find that pace, find that momentum, and maybe some confidence as well to be able to work their way into the main event here today. Q2, of course, the slower drivers from the happy hour practice session on Friday afternoon. Don't expect everybody to put the big laps down early, right? We got about 4 laps of qualifying in yesterday, so considering that the temperature right now at about 44 degrees ambient, can't expect much more out of the racetrack. Even though the sun is shining right now, it is going to be very cold out there. So grip levels are going to be low. Tire temps, of course, probably significantly high coming off the grid. Nothing near what we would run in the summer. We got these things pumped up big time to get the tires to get up the temperature a lot earlier. That's a 6:26 there of Antonio Flores. 8:26 rather. Flores currently sitting in the 9th spot. Fast driver right now, Maddox Ruiz with a 59.200. 2 groups for each of the qualifying sessions, so 2 for Q2, 2 for Q1, so 4 groups in total. Again, this is the group here where very likely, considering the fact that you're in the Q2 group, you're going to want to be in the top 2, top 5, that kind of thing, to be able to give yourself a good position to potentially be in the front half of the grid when it's all said and done. Arthur Barbe now up to P1 in the 872 at 58.024. Santiago Duran second. Arturo Anguian in third spot. David Morales and Alexander Savage rounding out the top 5. So just getting things underway for round 2 qualifying. Morning warm-up done and in the books so that they got cleared out. They've got a chance to get on the racetrack. They know what it's like out here. Again, the temperature has not came up that much, really only 4 degrees difference. So for the drivers here started the day in 40-degree temps, very similar as they've rolled out here to get things underway for qualifying. Barbe still on top of the 872, 58.024. Santiago Duran on the 4th lap. We all expect most drivers to go quickest here on lap number 4 as long as they've done their job. The tires are going to be obviously the closest they possibly can to the best temperature, the best grip. Barbe, Duran, Savage, Cunningham. Harry Cunningham moving up into the 4th spot. Facunda Hernandez now up into 5th. Arturo Anguian into 6th. David Morales 7th. Maddox Ruiz 8th. Jackson Elefante 9th. Paulo Yarregu now goes up into the 10th position. So there you have it for a time. Arthur Barbe, the divisional pole sitter. Bunch of drivers still to come, though. Another 17 drivers set to roll out here momentarily. We'll see the likes of Cole Medeiros, Ryan Morton, who had some pretty good runs. Yesterday was up there for a time. Ty Mars, John McClellan in this group. Grayson Walcott as well. Jensen Michelke. Talon Laney had a really good run in the main event. Was one of the hard chargers, if not the hard charger, coming from deep in the field, I believe, up there. So Talon Laney will be in this group here as well. Next group rolling right on out, so they've got the scale traffic down to a minimum now. I had a number of drivers spinning early on. Let's see if those ones or those mistakes can be avoided here with this group. Second group of Q2. Got to get those tires up to temp. I know it's something I struggled with when I ran the Super Nationals back in the 25th edition. Man, I just couldn't get the tires up to temp very well. These drivers are getting pushed hard to do it. Really work those fronts. See your driver off to the side of the track there. Sebastian Enriquez only got 2 laps in. That's tough for him in qualifying. He's actually down the tail of the field, 60.673. Was not able to get those 3rd and 4th laps in, which are obviously going to be significantly quicker. So it's going to be a lot of work for Enriquez from deep in the field, very likely at the back of his pre-final. Well, a big good morning and hello to those of you who are tuning in to the Kart Chaser broadcast here. I'm Rob Haddon. I will be joined, of course, by Xander Clemens throughout the weekend. We've got Alexander Searle down in pit lane. We've been leveraging him quite a bit throughout the weekend as well to get insight from pit lane, talking to the drivers before and after their sessions. Start of the 2025 season. SuperKarts USA, of course, a couple of months ago, wrapping things up with the Super Nationals in Las Vegas. There has been some racing, of course, in Florida over the Christmas holidays with both the WK Kart Week and the CKNA Winter Nationals. But the National 2-cycle program in North America kicking off here this weekend with the SuperKarts USA Winter Series.
Let's go down the pit lane here. Alexander Searle standing by with Alessandro Truchot, one of the junior rookies here this weekend, and we talked about a little warm-up. Let's see how it went for him. Alex?
Thank you, Xander. Alessandro, always good to have you back here in the States whenever you're not racing over on the European side of things. I mean, how would you kind of rate how the weekend's gone so far, and what's the track like during warm-up?
Well, the weekend has been going pretty good so far. We still need to improve a couple things, but we think we've got it figured out for today. But yeah, the warm-ups, obviously, it's very cold. So track conditions, it's also very short. Track conditions are very slippery. So you really need to get the heat into the tires in the first few laps.
How did it compare to yesterday?
It was a bit colder today, or yeah, it was a bit slipperier. So I didn't do warm up yesterday, so I don't really know how it was. And also it was wet yesterday, so it was pretty slippery, and you really need to get the heat into the tires.
Talking about the heat in the tires, short qualifying session. I know you guys are going to try to find a working partner. What is kind of a strategy, if you have anything, going into qualifying for you guys in KA Junior?
Try to get as much heat into the tires, of course. Such short qualifyings, and try to get a good draft. Couple good guys around me, and try to do the best lap possible.
Thank you, Alessandro.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Alex, thank you so much. And I think that particular picture there was probably the best way we can describe what it's like here trackside right now, because you can see the breath out of both Alex Searle and Alessandro Truchot there. You know what it's like when it's cold, when you get that breath coming out there and it's a little frozen. It's just definitely cool. And again, everything I was saying during, of course, warm-up and then through the early parts of qualifying here was kind of reiterated by Alessandro Truchot, saying, man, it's super cold out there. It's very slippery. And the key is getting the heat into the tires. He mentioned that twice. The push to make sure you get enough heat into the tires. So that last lap, because he also said it's a very short session, I mentioned before, just 4 laps getting for this qualifying run. You've got to get the job done quickly. You've got to get the heat in the tires, and you have to make sure you bang out lap number 4. It's absolutely crucial. John McClellan doing a good job there, 57.148, as he beats Talon Laney by just a thousandth of a second. They're 1-2. Arthur Barbe holding on for third. So very impressive for Arthur. Remember, he was in that slower group of Q2. So he ends up being P3 when it's all said and done. So Barbe doing a really good job with a 57.240, less than a tenth of a second off both McClellan and Laney. Jensen Michelke ends up in 4th, and Kai Mars rounding out your top 5. Cole Madeira, so I'd mentioned as well, in 6th spot. Grayson Walcott 7th. Santiago Duran from that first group ends up in the 8th spot. Juan Jose Paramo and Ruben Gutierrez rounding out the top 10. So 57.148 for John McClellan, provisional pole right now. Another full group of drivers still coming. We'll split them into 2 once again. That next group here, the Q1 group for this KA 100 category. But again, as I said before, if you're kind of in that slower group, the best you can do is be right at the front. Top 2, top 5, be right up in there, because even if you don't end up being able to have that big run, maybe into the top whatever in the category, you're going to be right around that transfer position. At least you're going to be able to race your way in. When you're deeper, let's say you're 20th on down, you've got work to do for sure to get yourself back up. You got to rely potentially on some of the chaos from the start of your pre-final. But again, that pre-final is so crucial. As I said, we'll reiterate the fact that the top 22 from each pre-final, the 2 flights, those are the drivers that transfer through to the A main. There is no last chance qualifier. If you're not in the top 22 in your pre-final, you end up running the B main. A full distance B main is going to be the full laps, which will likely be, I think, 18. I think we're going to cut a couple laps off the main events to make sure we cut the day down a little bit. We're not here again until 7 o'clock on a Sunday evening, so look for that to be the adjustment. But also, like I said, very crucial for the drivers here in qualifying to do the best they can to work their way forward. So solid run. Number 1 for McClellan and Laney, but big one for Arthur Barbe, as I said. He was able to put a good lap down as the leader of the first group of qualifying. So again, the tail end of that slower group, and he leverages that. Engines coming to life here on pit lane. Fire up those GoPro cameras as well. All these drivers ready to tackle what will be a challenging racetrack here. Truchot gave us a good scoop on it. One driver had some trouble firing up. They're going to get the external starter in there. So again, a 57.148 fast lap, 57.148. And Emerson Lane, a little wave to the crowd. Keith Lewis Jr. rolling out here as well. Again, the first of two groups, the fastest group from happy hour will be the second group here pushing up. This is essentially the second quickest of the four groups of a massive field of drivers in this category. 57.1, remember that time to beat for John McClellan. You know it's going to get beat by this group, but nonetheless, we'll see where McClellan ends up, topping that Q2 qualifying run. Good job for John. And this is it. We'll have a little look at how these drivers are really going to try to get these tires up to temp, dragging the brake a little bit to get some heat into the axle, which will of course then transition through to the tires themselves. One driver off at turn number one. Again, we've seen this a lot. It is very slippery out there. We've known over the years that the Vincos don't put a lot of rubber down on the racetrack either. It's not like the days, 20 years ago when the tires used to lay down a huge layer of extra rubber. It was unbelievable the amount of grip that we had with those softer tires back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So you're not going to get that grip level here when you have a track that is as cold as it is, just still 44. I keep looking down, expecting to see 45 or 46, but the temp's going to hold the station right now at 44 degrees. Very cool out here still. Again, our first couple of groups of KA 100 Junior are in the book. Xander Clemens back in the booth here to join me here as our second group of qualifying. It ends up being our third group of qualifying for KA 100 Junior. 57.1, Xander, the quick time laid down by John McClellan in our first of the groups, our Q2 group. So that would be the provisional poll. You know that's going to get broken here with group number two and then of course group number one when it's all said and done. But as Alessandro said, Truchot said in his interview with Alexander Searle, it's all about getting heat into these tires in the opening couple laps.
I think this track probably has one of the slower progressions in the mornings of the tour that we normally go to. You know, yesterday with that drying condition, I thought there would be a much bigger jump, right, from the slow group to the fast group, and there wasn't as much of one. I'm curious how well John McClellan's time is going to hang on. I mean, like you said, Rob, we expect that one to get blown out the water by some of the talent alone, but maybe not the entire group goes by just off the track being better.
Even the first karts on the track, Arthur Barbie was the fastest. He ended up being third or fourth, I believe it was. I think it was third when the second group had rolled out. So you're right, even through those couple groups, Barbie was able to hold on. We'll see what John McClellan and the rest of that crew get. Indeed, if they could get somewhere into the top 30, I think we'd be pretty happy in terms of the fact we got another 35 karts getting ready to roll out here for qualifying and Q1. That's the second group, essentially the fastest drivers from happy hour.
And again, it also kind of boils down to, you know, the fact that if we look back on the history of coming to Orlando Kart Center with these Evinco tires, that, you know, it was glossing over the surface a lot more than it was laying down rubber. We definitely saw some rubber over races on the summer. MCC Kartplex laid down marbles offline like no tomorrow, had a ton of darkness on the racing groove. The Badger Kart Club US Pro Kart Series round saw the same, but when we're not getting that really high heat, it doesn't seem to kind of add that grip level session by session for this quick progression. So I think, you know, if I were to pick any time of the year or race series to have a bad Friday and end up having to fight out of the slow group, the Winter Series might be one of those weekends where I'm okay with it, because it just seems like it's such more of a slow burn that you don't pay the price for not being fast on Friday afternoon.
Check.
Theo Salameo now on top with an in the number 815 into a 56.831, so he's about 3/10 quicker already than John McClellan. But McClellan's time's still good enough for second right now, lap 3. Salameo P1 here. Drew Jensen in second. Jose Halpern, who was a part of the lead battle yesterday in the third spot. Edgar Rodriguez in fourth. And Victor de Alencar rounding out your early fast five here in the third of the four groups of qualifying for KA 100 Junior. That 57.1 for John McClellan. Still enough to keep him, I believe, P2 in this particular group. But here comes that fourth lap. We expect a number of drivers to do their personal best here on lap number 4. Every lap, every corner, you're building more heat into the tire, you're getting that more grip, and you know that the last lap you have to be perfect on. You don't need to be perfect on lap 1 or 2, but make sure you're really perfect on lap 3 and 4. Drew Jensen up there with a 56.521. Salameo, Santillan, de Alencar, and Rodriguez all quicker. Yeah, see, right now you go 57.1. You got to go down to 11th right now for John McClellan, just a little bit quicker than Keith Lewis Jr. at a 57.206. So John now 11th overall with the 3 groups combined. Drew Jensen on top, though, with a 56.521. So, hey, listen, again, for John McClellan, he was quicker than, 6 drivers already in that particular group. Not likely to be quicker than many people in the fastest group, again, as we've got another, 16, 18, 19 drivers are going to roll out here for the final group. So very unlikely he's going to do that. But even for John coming out of that 3rd group, if he's 6 up, he's going to be somewhere in the split right around that top 20.
Right, and at least, he did pick up, for sure, some drivers in that one, 6 in that group at least, but I guess this group kind of proved me wrong a little bit there. 10 of them all leapfrogging by, and we still have the other half of it to roll. So how many will be able to jump John McClellan? This is, of course, the top quarter, the top 25% final practice, being led off there by Alexander Vanchev, who's got a problem. That chain guard, that gray plastic cover for the sprocket and chain is already starting to come loose and looks like it could potentially be rubbing on his right rear tire, and look how out of shape he is right now. I don't know if it's affecting it. We know the tires are cold and it's low on air, so that's going to be part of it. But check it out. There he is. He just looked back. I don't know how much, and if this comes off, this is a technical infraction. As long as it stays attached, I think he's okay. Yeah. But it's down to one last bolt, and shaking the tires, jumping the curb, that's going to make it potentially come off a little bit quicker. I don't know if he knows at this point.
It's not going to make it any better, that's for sure. You can see it flopping away there now. That is rough there for, again, the driver who has been so quick, Alexander Vanchev.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely kissing that right rear tire. Look at it now. You can see it rubbing the top of it. That's going to play a factor for sure in the left-hand turns. Let's watch him here. He'll be fine in this right-hander because that inside tire will lift up. The left side will be the one working. Now watch him through this right-hander. Let's see if his hands end up busy. No, it looks okay, but it's definitely moving, and that'll be something to keep an eye on, I'm sure, if it stays for the whole session, because we're only on lap number 1 of potentially 4 for Alexander Vanchev.
He needs to get lucky and have that thing lock itself in somewhere, right? Obviously, you can see how it's still pulled out there on the side. We picked that up very quickly. And again, fast time here, let's just throw it out there. Drew Jensen, 56.521 provincial pole time. We expect to see these drivers lay it down pretty quickly, but again, it's going to be lap 3 or lap 4. I don't see anybody going here on lap number 1 or lap number 2 as they try to get some temp into those tires. Casey Cameraman staying right on that rear part of the cart for Vanchev.
Here's Travis Pettit and Marco Salmon across the line as they went on their first lap at speed, going to jump into the top 10. Doesn't look like anyone's going to be able to knock off the fastest from the first group so far.
Xander, you and I have both been behind the wheel the last couple of years. This is when it gets frustrating in qualifying when you're with a group. You know you're similar speed, whatever it may be, but they start diving in on you. You just can't do that on a fast lap. If you dive in on somebody in a lap 3 or a lap 4, neither of you are going to get better lap times. You really, when you're in a group like this, you've got to have everybody working together. There's not much you can do. You've got to make the pass happen on lap 2 or lap 3, because you have to have a clean lap 4. When you're battling somebody on lap 4, you're 100% giving up a fast lap.
It's so tricky because, these kids know that little extra tenth or 2 tenths that they might get towing off of someone, or even just being able to mentally use the driver in front as kind of a braking marker and turn-in point, and a meter stick of how to drive around the racetrack. I mean, that's could be a huge help, and that could be 10, 20, 30 spots in the pre-final. Put yourself in a better spot to transfer to the A main. But that risk versus reward factor, like you said, Rob, you end up being a tiny bit slower than the drivers around you, and they're dive bombing you every corner. You're getting dirt on the tires. You're going offline. You're losing momentum. And before you know it, qualifying's over, and you've got 0 clean laps in, and now you're starting way back.
So lap number 3, Edward Kennedy moves up into the 3rd spot. Travis Pettit goes to 4th. Vanchev up to 6th. Marco Salmon up into 7th. Augustus Toniol to 11th. So there's the first drivers that worked their way into the top 10, and we continue to see the chain guard there for Vanchev. As I said, he is in 6th spot. See what he pulls out here at the end. It's still holding on. That's I'm sure that those at home who are following, anybody from RPG as well, are hoping that thing hangs on to the very end. Obviously, a bolt failure or something there happening to that the lower attaching the mounting point for the chain guard for Vanchev. Waiting to bring it in. Travis Pettit goes to a 56.266. He'll go to P1 right now. Tyrone Kemper Jr. up into 2nd. Weil in 3rd. Sam at 4th. But coming across the line, yeah, this wraps things up. Everybody getting their final laps in here, Xander. Travis Pettit on the TV cart right now, P1, 56.266. I think that's going to be it. I'm just kind of waiting to see if anything updates on us, as it often does. 56.266. Pettit's going to take the pole position here for his group. Tyrone Kemper Jr., we talked about him already, how impressive he's been in the Speed Concepts racing machine. He'll go P2, and only by 16 thousandths of a second. Weiland, Samet, and Vanchev, your top 5. Castilla in 6th, Kennedy 7th, Calderon 8th, Drew Jensen 9th, and Theo Salameo rounding out the top 10. Both Jensen and Salameo from group number 2. They'll be happy with that. John McClellan, what did I say, a 57.1? Yeah, he's probably going to be in 28th. That's pretty solid coming out of that third group.
Right, that's well inside the transfer zone as well when you look at the dividing line at 44th overall or 22nd in the pre-final. So for John McClellan, 27 to 29th range. Again, that's going to put him just around 13th to 15th on the grid.
Nice.
Very good starting spot. You can fight from there in the pre-final. And that's the good and the bad part, again, risk and reward of having these half-and-half pre-finals. You can go forward in a hurry. You can also go backwards in a hurry, as we saw yesterday as well.
So true. Big one for Travis Pettit, of course, getting that pole position of 56.266. He'll start on the pole for his pre-final, as we know. Tyrone Kemper Jr., another great run, as we said. Max Weiland right in there. Further down the order, some of the drivers we've seen in the fight a little bit. Tristan Murphy back in 11th. Augustus Toniolo, 13th. Ashton Woon and Isaac Malkit in 14th and 15th. Nico Katowski, of course, looking for that recovery after the issue in the pre-final yesterday. He's 16th, so he'll be in 8th spot in his pre-final as well. Truchot back at 18th. He talked about wanting to qualify a little bit better. Jose Halfin, who was really in the fight all day yesterday in the main event, Xander, back in 25th position. So Halfin's got some work to do to make sure he's where he needs to be when we go racing in the main event later on this afternoon.
Jose Alejandro Halfin, one of the many Rollison Performance Group drivers in that junior contingent, the X30 Junior group of them all, was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Locked out the top 5 in the warm-up session, so we'll see a lot of those same junior drivers you just saw go back out again for the other junior division later on, but now we'll switch our focus over to the KA Seniors, first of their 2 groups, and there's yellow flags flying in front of our booth here down by turn number 5. The first of the pack obviously has gotten away nicely, but the driver into the wall, it's one of the J. Howard driver development entries, the 910 into the barriers here. That will be Maine that has gone out. Jeremy Maine, I believe, in the 910 going out at turn number 5. Not an ideal start, and he was into the wall pretty good there, so that could have caused some damage along with that. But 22 or so, and a bit of side-by-side moment there for one of the TV carts crossing the line. About as close as they could get potentially swerving right there. That was the 967. Is that Autumn Fisher maybe on the TV? I don't believe that's Ty, but big gaggle of carts right here in turn number 6. One of the Orsolon machines. They're 2 and 3 abreast, all trying to find space and find a hole, and yeah, backing off there, getting out of that. Will be the driver that kind of started it all. There's Carter Thompson making a move on his TKG Bureau Art, so he'll move forward. 904 of Ricardo Saruth, the Orsolon Racing Tony Kart there, 9th. Across the line last time for his opening lap. Carter Thompson quickest, Matt Mockabee second quick for the Trinity Karting Group Bureau Art USA debut. There's Mockabee right in the middle of the screen there, 936. Here's Eric Questo on the local LFB Racing Orlando Kart Center based operation going to the top, and Remy Andratos will now move even better than his TKG teammates. New time to beat, 57.398. And Ivana Richards, the young lady from Mexico, will go to the top over Oliver Marak, and more times starting to populate, more drivers shuffling the top 10. Aiden Shimbashi moving up the boards. He'll go to 3rd on the factory karts entry. Max Saga into 8th. Teo Horna in 10th, but this single file line, this is no good for anyone involved here that we've got on screen. At least for the sake of Carter Thompson, he's gotten clear of them. He can run down the Orsolon Tony Kart ahead of him. There's a look at Remy Andratos, I believe, making the switch from the Soda USA camp over to Bureau Art USA through Trinity Karting Group. Was first initially across that timing loop last time, now back to 4th as there's more passes in the middle of the group. Michael Boyadzis and Matt Maccabi, it looked like. Oh, big contact down in turn 1. It looked like Maccabi just got turned around. Or no, Carter Thompson. Thompson just got spun right there in turn 1. This slow group here, Rob, this has been cutthroat. This pack we've been watching.
It's interesting because we kind of just detailed kind of what you have to do here, and that's not good at all. Like, listen, if you get no back of that, it's going to be both drivers. This driver who got taken out, obviously going to get hurt by that, but they right on camera, 100%. The driver who was the offensive player there, who took the driver out, is going to get a penalty. So the bottom line is that you've got to take care of each other on this racetrack. When you're battling with someone, you're not getting the most out of your qualifying session. Hey, listen, this is the group you rolled out with. This is how it worked. You want an open racetrack. You back up to get yourself the open racetrack. But if you're in the middle of a fight like this, you've got to make sure these are the drivers you're able to work with. You're pushing them. You're trying to get the best draft you, like you had mentioned, Xander. You can't be diving on top of guys and making moves to the inside and having contact like that. This is really about taking care of where you are on the racetrack.
It's just a waste of the session, really. But, you know, they're going to pay for it ultimately with the lap times, whether they are the offender in the crash or just being in that pack. You saw Autumn Fisher bail out of it early. Her TV card ends up 4th in the group. Ivana Richards makes it 2 young ladies in the top 5 for the first of the 2 groups. In KA Senior, Braden Zerbs, the rookie, in 2nd. Shimbashi and Oliver Marak, your top 5, but another TV card went all the way to the top in KA Junior. Let's go down to Alexander Searles. He stands by with Travis Pettit.
Thank you, Xander. Travis, we knew you were quick yesterday. You went purple multiple occasions during that final. What does this mean to you to get pole?
It means a lot. I mean, we were struggling yesterday. An unlucky final. Got taken out. It was my fault. I mean, you know, I had to take a chance around the outside. Usually the outside doesn't work, but I tried to send it. Didn't work. But, yeah, this means a lot, and hopefully we have a better day today.
Oh, you're on pole now. You're not in the middle like you were yesterday. So what's kind of the mindset now heading into this pre-final?
Just keep your head down, focus, and just don't let my position.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
So from Travis Pettit in KA Junior, as he mentioned, just trying to hold position here when you get to that good of a quali effort. But again, also, all he can do is go backwards. So he can't expect to lead every single lap. It'd be great if it worked out that way. But just stay kind of in that lead pack, Rob. You know that the moment you qualify pole, it's both a great accomplishment and it puts a target on your back for the rest of the day.
Well, you know what? Let's focus then on a driver who is, you know, obviously been a legend in our sport, Ryan Norberg. How many times have you watched Ryan start on the pole, you get roughed up a little bit, maybe he goes back to 7th. You know he's coming back to the front, right? He doesn't get it. I remember talking to Ryan about it at one point. When something like that happens to me, I just take it in stride. I relax, I press the reset button, and I start working forward. It's pass or beat, pass, working my way back to the front. So even if you do lose a couple positions, the idea is just to stay focused, put your head back down. You know, Travis knows he's got the speed. He showed it there. So just leverage that speed, work your way back to the front, and put yourself in a position to win the pre-final and win the race. That's just learning from some of the experience you've seen out of a guy like Ryan Norberg, even a Joe Turney who falls back. When they do fall back, they just work their way back forward. You know, Turney wasn't at the front of the pre-final, but he was able to work his way there in the main event. So that's the key, just to realize that if you've got the pace, you're going to be able to get yourself back up front.
And like you said, you know, you just have to know, having been in that spot before, that, you know, that's what these guys are going to try and do. They're going to try and get under your skin. They're going to try and rattle you. You know, when we went back to talk about that 2023 Winter Series recap and, you know, coming off of the year Ryan had in 22, there were many races, like you said, Rob, in 2022. They were not just trying to pass Ryan, they were trying to rough him up, trying to rattle his cage a little bit, trying to knock him out of, you know, that good, you know, mental space that he was in. And he, after a while, was able to really come to terms with, okay, this is what they're going to do. I understand it. I get why they're doing it. I'm not going to let it get to me. I'm not going to let them win the battle mentally, and I'll just let them spread out. I'll pick them apart one by one, and I'll get back to him.
He wasn't going to be surprised by the strategy, right? He knows it's coming. I know they're going to try to rough me up. I'm the driver that everybody's got the target on right now, so I'll just be ready for it and already have my strategy planned, or maybe even my mindset planned. You can't really plan the strategy of that. It's just the mindset knowing it's going to happen. You're ready for it, and you'll go back to the front. And that's why, of course, we've seen so many dominant performances for Ryan over the years. Even when he's faced some adversity in a pre-final or even early in the final, he's been able to put his head back down and work his way forward.
That said, though, we know that he'll be wanting to get some redemption today, and I think the same can be said for his teammate Kai Hunter, who just went quickest in this group yesterday, was fastest in qualifying, had a great pre-final, and then in the main event, got tangled up with Ty Fisher, was fighting hard to try and stay in the lead. He said he's really enjoyed this KA race. He said at points it feels a lot more difficult than any other class that he's raced, and he has raced about everything there is to race when it comes to karting. From X30 to Rotax to Rock GP to the likes in between. And he's enjoyed the 100cc action. He was slated to hopefully pull double duty this weekend. That wasn't able to happen, and he's hoping, I think, that we'll get to see him do that maybe in the February round, and that would be a sight to see, because I know through the week that he was practicing an X30, he felt very strong there as well and really wanted a shot at Joe and Ryan.
And listen, for those who may be tuning in and didn't see that, Xander, give us the update, the reason why some of these drivers weren't able to run the categories they wanted. We had a lot of people that wanted to enter this race this weekend.
We did. This is a packed house, and KA Senior was one of the first ones to sell out. KA Junior was technically the first one to sell out. It then was the only class that would have the space that they opened the cap up, has 65. Then KA Senior sold out, Micro Swift sold out, and it forced a couple of KA Senior regulars to make their X30 Pro debut, whether they wanted to or not, maybe a bit premature. Kai Hunter was set to do both, and in their situation, completely different. RPG had such a massive influx of drivers, just like a bunch of these teams at the 11th hour, and Mike Rawlson said, hey Ryan, I don't know if we're gonna be able to fit you in to get you to drive. I don't know what we've got with Kai, and they've all kind of said, okay, all right, Ryan, you'll do the X30, Kyle, you'll do the KA. Kai, sorry, thanks for taking one for the team. Ryan, appreciate you, worked your butt off. Thought you were gonna be the one taking one for the team. Both of them looking for, I think, a little more today, and well, Kai Hunter, he's at least got some more to start. How about that? Pole in qualifying, 55.207.
He delivers for Rawlson Performance Group fast driver in qualifying. Kai Hunter on the pole alongside Blake Nash, who was ready to fight yesterday. Ty Fisher continuing that almost a rival on the national scene. We've seen him over the last couple of years, but Super Nationals was his kind of coming out party where he rolled in and said, hey, I'm ready to battle, even in the front of the junior category, but he's picked it right up here in senior. Ty Fisher, P3 on the TB Kart. Past Frankie Mossman, of course, yesterday's winner in the KA class in the 905. Impressive for Mossman. Salvador Della Vecchia, better qualifying than yesterday for sure. Up there into the P5 position, he had a Sebastian Garzone, who had to pass a ton of karts to get himself back in the top 10 after issues in the pre-final.
And as well, I got to give a lot of credit to you, Rob. You mentioned in warm-up, Blake Nash was going to be one of the guys that you thought could have the speed to really fight at the front today. We saw him lead a bit. Everyone in that top four, all the ones that you mentioned from warm-up yesterday, a lot of the same here potentially on the deck for KA Senior presented by the AKT Racing Team.
And Xander, guys making some moves forward after some issues yesterday. Leonardo Scorpione won. We talked about him working his way forward. He ends up in the 8th position. Henry Wheeler, who had to come from deep in the field, he's in 10th as well. So both those drivers, much better starting spots rolling into the pre-final.
There's no better starting spot than the pole. Let's go down to Alexander Searle. He's standing by with Kai Hunter, who sweeps the pole awards for the weekend in KA Senior.
Thank you, Xander. Well, Kai, I'd say it's a much better. How'd that qualifying go for you, would you say? And, heading into pre-final, where's your mind at?
Hey, yeah, it was a good qualifying. I feel like I backed off just the right moment. Obviously, we don't have a lot of time, so you have to get that lap perfect. It was to be honest with you, the first part of the lap was really good, but the last section, the last corner wasn't great, so I probably could have went a little bit better, but yeah. It wasn't amazing, but I did the job, so I'm pretty happy.
We didn't get a chance to chat much after yesterday's main event, but I'd say it was sloppy might be the wrong word, but probably just seems like you were on the wrong side of everything. How would you kind of sum up how yesterday went, and what could you do to change it?
I just got to remember how K is. I was a bit too aggressive on all the moves. I feel like I should have just let it come to me. The pace wasn't bad. I just, tried a bit too hard to get back, and feel like everyone give it a little bit, and I give some back, and penalties come, is what it is.
Thanks, Kai.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thank you, Alex. We'll go back to the next group, right onto the racetrack here with qualifying. The Micro Swifts put on a show from start to finish yesterday. They were phenomenal. What a perfect display of racecraft and sportsmanship that both Lennox Lockhart and Marcelo Flores showed with each other. Two drivers that were laying it out all on the line for their first ever U.S. major victory, and they were just fantastic to watch, start to finish, pre-final and final.
worked together, played their cards well to put themselves in spots to fight for the race win at the end of it all. And as hard and difficult as they raced each other and made it where one or the other would struggle to get by, they kept it clean, and they both made it to the line to finish 1-2 in each of those sessions. Now, Marcelo Flores, the driver from Mexico, has gotten his first flag in the checkered flag in the U.S. Lennox Lockhart looking now for his first checkered flag on day number 2. And as well, the same said for the drivers that were kind of nipping at their heels but just needed a little bit more to fight with them here today. They will most likely be in the next group to run, as once again, this group, a sold-out 44-driver grid, has them split in groups of 22, top half and bottom half of final practice. You've got Daniel Guerra in this group. We mentioned him at 15th qualifying overall, then drove forward. Liam Francisco in the 241 initially to the top at a 65.119. Micah Porter, Grayson Powers, Cesar Baradas, all right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2/10 apart on their first laps at speed. There's a look at one of the nitro carts rolling on by. That is going to be the 241 of Liam Francisco, so we will correct that for you. He's under the Ryan Perry Motorsport camp, but all by his lonesome at the back of the field. And on the other end of the spectrum, you've got Cesar Baradas on the AM Racing Team X30 going across the line there. 62.65 for him. He'll put half a second on him. But let's watch Liam Francisco right now. Headed over towards the last turn all by himself. His big brother Jaden has set the bar pretty high with how good Jaden Francisco was in 2024 throughout the entire U.S. campaign. Let's see what Liam can do here as he crosses the line. To the checkers, or not the checkers, but to the checker stripe. He'll get another lap in, of course. That lap not as good. Down in 7th. Still 9/10 to find. Cesar Baradas stays on top with a big lap here for Ariel Castro's AM Racing Team. Danny O'Gara along with Grayson Powers, their 2nd and 3rd. Charlie Skrpowski back in that 4th position. And then IX Capitan Garduno back in the 5th spot, still 7/10 away. So we're following Liam Francisco right now. This time by the 4-minute counter should hit, and we will get the checkers, I think, around midway through the group. Don't know who will be the first one to hit it. Francisco is going to be right on the cusp, whether he gets another lap or not, by waiting till the end. So whether that'll pay off remains to be seen. Cesar Baradas still on top, now to a 61.82 as they shuffle around him. Big lap out of Iker Alvarez, the CRG USA driver, moving into 5th on that lap around. So a leap forward for the 225. To the line here this time, it stays green, no checkers yet. Francisco will get another lap like the rest of the field. He'll jump back up into 8th on the nitro cart. Checkers will follow, it looks like, though. Aaron Lykin standing by and ready. But I believe Liam is safe to get one more lap on in. No, indeed, Liam is going to be pulling in. Look at that, yellow flags, slow to exit. Francisco will not get a return lap, so his best will be 8th. Cesar Baradas on the 224 AM Racing Team entry. Still your fastest at the moment. Here he goes across the line, checkers out. No improvement for Cesar. Can anyone else go forward? How about Iker Alvarez moving up the board? Grayson Powers to the top on the Oriole Kart Performance MPG machine. O'Gara beats him, but Ix Capitan Garduno takes RPG all the way to the top of the board here in group number 1. 61.562 beats out Danny O'Gara by about a 0.5. Grayson Powers 2/10 back. Baradas, Iker Alvarez, Leandro Ramirez, Micah Porter, Samuel Chavarri, Liam Francisco, and Charlie Skrpowski. Your top 10 from group number 1 for the Energy Corsa Racing America's Micro Swifts. Group number 2 on deck. They'll be released here in just a moment. With Micro Swifts rolling out after them will be the X30 Juniors, Pro X30, moving to KA Master, Mini Swift, and then Pro and Master Shifter. So here's the second group, the faster half from the Micro Swift class. On screen there, that is the JHDD entry, Marcelo Flores. There's the 242 at Lennox Lockhart. First one on the racetrack, though, fastest from happy hour, Dutch Westbrook in the 233, blue and white Bennett. Quick in warm-up for Dutch. And the Texan looks like he's already got a huge gap. He'll be doing this quali, I think, for the most part by himself. This group, might be able to work together as the 247 goes on by. That's one of the Orsalon Racing Paralins. Making a move around Marcelo. He'll drop in line behind Lennox Lockhart. Looks to be Zev Gottschalk in a white helmet there lined up behind that group of 3 to make it a group of 4. And there's about 3 more of them kind of lined up as well. But Dutch Westbrook said, you know what, I'll go by myself today. No drafting partner, no rabbit to chase. He's pulled away from this group. He's had a good opening lap. I think he may set a benchmark that could be pretty tough to beat. They'll need to really turn up the wick a bit to keep Dutch close. Can he score a big-time win here today? Across the line for Dutch Westbrook to set the tone. Group 2, the fast group. First lap for Westbrook, it'll put him in the mid-teens. 16th out of 63.91. Quickest so far of the new group here, though, by about a 10th to Brody Stoffel's Kart Republic, to Mason Brody's Nash Motorsports machine. They're second and third of the fast group so far. 7.5 minutes elapsed here. This will run till about the 11-minute marker, as they should all get about 4 laps, just as we saw with the first group, with the exception being Liam Francisco and a handful that only got 3. Actually, it looks like the checker may have come out halfway through that first group based on where timing ended. So big benefit to being some of the first drivers on the racetrack and hustling on your out lap. Let's see if these drivers have hustled enough on their second lap. I don't know if they've made any inroads towards Dutch Westbrook. You've got the 247 Orsalon Racing Paralin, Mauro Nario, who was on the podium yesterday. Great run for Mauro. You've got Lennox Lockhart there in the black and orange Velocity Racing SKUSA USA entry. And you have Marcelo Flores, yesterday's winner. So 3 drivers that should be fast. You see Mauro bailing out of line. Unfortunately, that was a terrible spot for him to do it, though. That was right at the end of a lap and the beginning of the next one. So he's going to have to bank on not this lap being a good one, but the lap afterwards to run up to Lennox Lockhart. And even still, no one out of this group's really made a lot of inroads. You've got Hudson Howard now joining Dutch Westbrook as the top 2 from this pack, or from this fast group. They are still only 7th and 8th. And they're on lap 2. They've got lap 3. They've got lap 4. 6/10 to find to go to the overall pole set by Ajax Capitan Garduno. Danny O'Gara yesterday out of the slow group, again, slotted into the mid-teens. So he beat about 7 or 8 drivers out of this fast group. Will he beat more of them today? You see Marcelo Flores now catching up to Mauro Nario. If he has to pass him, it'll pretty much surrender any good laps for Nario's session. Let's see what they put on this time by. Big lap out of Westbrook to 3rd. Big lap out of Lennox Lockhart to go to the pole. 101.111, a 61.111 for Lennox Lockhart. Brody Stoffel goes to 2nd. Leo Simone 3rd. Flores still 4th on that lap. That was decent. But check out the JHDD Kart Republics here working together. Hudson Howard in the middle of that group. I think they shuffled in that lap, so he didn't get the best one. He still moved up a spot to go to 6th overall. But those white and blue Kart Republic liveries are fast. 2, 3, 4, 6 right now. Splitting an RPG Cosmic and Garduno, who is still holding strong out of the slow group. And Lennox Lockhart on that SKUSA USA by Velocity Racing machine, top of the heap by 3/10. Will it be more this time by, as there's more issues in that pack coming to the checkers, so that will hurt some of those Kart Republic drivers trying to put a good lap in. Here's Westbrook by himself. Lockhart the same, head-to-head. Westbrook to 2nd. Lockhart will open the gap up. Mauro Nario to P2 by 15 thousandths. And I think that'll hold. Waiting for any more fast times. I think most of your good drivers, your fast drivers, have already hit the loop. Logan Arteta will split a few of them. He'll jump to 7th. But Lennox Lockhart, 2nd yesterday, 1st today here in qualifying. Great run, and a pole by just a slim margin over Orsalon's Mauro Nario, who's looking to go a couple spots better himself today. Yesterday's winner, Marcelo Flores, still a great starting position from 3rd on that final lap. Picked up a little bit, pushed Mauro Nario around. Hudson Howard was able to follow him through as well. They all jumped Dutch Westbrook, who still got himself a safe starting spot, running all by himself in 5th. But again, Lennox was on his own as well. That's a scary feat for how fast that 242 Sodi is right now, ladies and gentlemen. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, drafting to try and match the pace of the pole kid here in Micros of Mason Brody, Logan Arteta, Brody Stoffel, Leo Simone, Aiden Go, your top 10 from the Energy Corsa Racing America's Micro Swift class. You're watching Kart Chasers live and free coverage here this morning from the SuperKarts USA Winter Series. X30 Junior on deck and ready to roll, 37 drivers strong when we return.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? It's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Let's go down to pit lane here. Another pole sitter, another pole award interview. Alexander Searle is standing by in the pits with our Micro Swift top qualifier, Lennox Lockhart.
Victory today, your first national pole. How does this feel?
Feels good. I was pushing a lot for first, working together with a couple people and just kept pushing.
Now, looking forward to today. Yesterday, a corner away from a race victory. Today, you're starting on the best side of the grid, best starting position on the grid. What can we do to get the win?
Probably just keep pushing and make sure I have a good start and gap them.
Now, we turn around here. I know there's a lot of Mom Gabby. Who do you want to thank for this pole position?
I thank my mechanic, Ricardo. I like to thank my parents for helping me and encouraging me to get the pole, and my engine, Waldron.
Lennox.
Yeah.
Back to you, boys.
Well, that's about as simple as it comes down to when it comes to winning a race here. Try to get a good start and gap them. Lennox Lockhart, top qualifier by 15 thousandths of a second for the SKUSA Winter Series here in Micro Swift. You still have X30 Junior, Pro X30, K Master, Mini Swift, and Pro and Master shifter to roll. So we've got a few more classes to roll for qualifying here from Orlando. Slowly but surely, we're warming up here at a sunnier day than yesterday. At this point of the day, we were still on wet tires. It wasn't until two more, or technically, I guess, four more qualifying groups, Rob, that we finally went onto the slicks with Jacob Kolar making that key strategy call of when to put the slick tires back on compared to the rest of the field.
Well, the temperatures finally started to come up. For a lot of the sessions there, we were stuck at 44 degrees. It was 40 when we got here. It was 44. Finally now up to 48 degrees. We're going to get closer to rolling into the 50s right now. It's been very tough, and it's really put a wrinkle into the qualifying sessions here earlier today. We saw a lot of drivers in warm-up having trouble on the opening lap, spinning around, absolutely no grip at all, no heat in the tires. But again, like Alessandro Truchot told us, we've seen some more input. The drivers really having to leverage those opening couple laps to get the tires up to temperature and then nailing that fourth lap. Everybody, of course, is going fastest on the final lap all total.
Here's your first group for X30 Junior rolling on to the racetrack now, folks. You've got about 17, 18 of them. I believe here in this group, maybe 19 in the next one of the 37 that we've got on deck here today. The bottom half from final practice, of course, sets the groups for both days, and then the top half, of course, the fast group for both days. So that means that some of the drivers that found some major improvements on Saturday still have to fight their way out of the first group. Because when we say fight, it's not a totally uphill battle. We've seen plenty of good drivers come out of them, but it doesn't make things any bit easier when you're fighting through traffic. Like here's Kit Bolofsky, right, in the 769 Energy Corsa Americas entry. I mean, he was obviously in that lead group yesterday. He was competitive, very fast, fighting for the lead in the race win, but he's right now in the middle of a group. Just went back in on Benham Abernathy's Holtz driver development Gillard, and they've still got about 3 or 4 more cars right in front of him that if they're not up to speed, he'll spend most of the session making passes than actually getting clean laps.
That's exactly what we detailed a couple of sessions ago, that you've got to make sure you take care of yourself in terms of putting your cart where it needs to be to get the open lap. It's all about really having the strategy and placement to where you need to be on lap number 4. Sometimes, even on lap 3, you may give up a little on lap number 3 to get that full run lap 4. Figure out who's around you, figure out the speed of the driver in front of you. The last thing you want is to roll into turn number 1 and 2, 3, Xander, with a driver you're significantly quicker than to start lap number 4. You're going to lose that lap completely. And again, you lose lap number 4 in these conditions, that lap 3 pace is not going to be enough to put you where you need to be up front in the pre-file. So crucial to be able to do the right strategy here in qualifying to make sure you have the run you need and the open track you need on lap number 4.
First lap's in the books now with 2 minutes elapsed. Rawls and Performance Group driver Jackson Porter, his first weekend with them, had a rougher go of things yesterday, Rob. We saw the red Hy-Vee suit. It's easy to pick out on the racetrack, and sadly we picked it out of the grass as he ended up getting crashed in one of the races for X30 yesterday. But today, a new day again. Everyone gets a fresh start, and the nice part about the Winter Series as well, granted it's probably a little early to talk championship, but it is the best 3 out of 4. So one bad day, you can still win the title. Yeah, we actually started talking about David Cole and I did yesterday, because the bottom line is if you have a rough day on Saturday, you're immediately talking about 3 out of 4, right? Well, that's my drop. It's 100% my drop already. Now, you don't want to use it on Saturday of round number 1, but indeed, it does give everybody an opportunity to say, okay, listen, I had a rough day. I'm going to put it behind me. I'm going to have 3 fantastic weekends to cap off this championship. Yeah, it is 3 out of 4. You do get 1 drop. A number of drivers, Xander, some of the top guys who ran that KA100B main yesterday was their drop because they want to win a championship. So with the B main being run only for this weekend as well, it's basically not only an automatic
it's only
drop.
this weekend.
Well, I mean, I say only this weekend as hasn't been run before and built into the point system.
Okay,
I want to add that. I mean, it could be a factor, I'm sure, for round 3 and 4 if the entries are big enough again. But either way, it's a non-points race essentially, right? 44th on back, do not score any points. Not only, so it's a consolation race in the name, basically, that this is to give everyone a main event. But like you said, it's a drop if you're fighting for a championship, but it's ultimately a drop no matter what if you're just looking to end up placing good in the points, whether you race it or not, because it won't count towards the total. Definitely won't punch good enough to fight for a title. No. You're right.
Yeah, you're not going to get the points out of that pre-final, that's for sure. So, indeed, qualifying underway with our first group. Xander mentioned we end up with 18 drivers in this group here, 18, and then we'll have 19 in the second group that will roll out with drivers like Alexander Vanchev, Lucas Palacio, Tristan Murphy, Rocco Simone. You got Max Weiland, Travis Pettit, Jose Halpin, Augusto Toniolo, Kit Pulaski, all these drivers we saw up front, Sarah Bradley, big names, of course, in junior racing coming up next. Checkered flag fly, this is that lap they've got to lay it down right now. Abernathy up top right now, the 777 with a 54.708, just over a tenth quicker than Edward Kennedy. Sebastian Rist in third, Nicholas Guth in fourth, and Jackson Porter rounding out your current top 5. Couple drivers still to come in to get that last lap done. But there you have it. So it's Abernathy, Kennedy, Rist, Guth, and Porter, the fast 5. Just over 0.3 of a second separating that quintet of drivers. 54.708 Xander in X30 Junior, brought to you by Speed Concepts Racing. Abernathy with the provisional pole time in the Holtz Racing Development, number 777.
Whether that lap will hold well or not, we're going to find out here in less than 5 more minutes. Already the X30 Junior Group 2 drivers onto the racetrack. But like you said, Rob, 54.708, that lap, it's good. It's not great based on what you can kind of surmise from how the results stacked up. It was not more than a 2/10 gap back to Edward Kennedy. So we know from our experience of watching these slow and fast groups play out, if someone puts 3, 4, 5 tenths on the entire group out of that slow group, they're probably going to have a good shot at least starting well, if not even challenging to hold on for the pole, like what we saw with Ruben Moya at the Super Nationals and a number of other drivers in those night sessions with the cooler track temperatures. But only being in front by a 1/10.5, the rest of the top 10 kind of being evenly spread, they may or may not blend ahead of a few, but probably not a lot of them.
So Travis Pettit going to see if he can do what Alexander Vanchev did yesterday, and that was top both of the sessions for the junior categories, both the KA and the X30 Junior. He's out front, got lots of open racetrack as well. There you go. We talked about the fact that if you get caught into a group that's maybe not as quick as you, that's not the best effort or the best strategy, but the bottom line is the best way to do it is be the first driver off the racetrack and get out front with nothing but open racetrack in front of you. We'll see whether or not Pettit's able to leverage that into another pole position here today.
Talking about Travis Pettit having a breakout potential year. What a kickoff it could be to sweep the poles here on Sunday. Fastest in happy hour gets you a prime starting spot here for qualifying, but he'll have to beat the driver behind him right now who's looking pretty sporty. Alexander Vanchev had that miscue with the chain guard in KA Junior Qualifying, but he was the kid to beat in qualifying yesterday. So will it be enough here for him to get maybe a little toe off Travis and go just a tick better? He's already closing in from what you can see on your screen visually. Behind him there, you go back to, I think that's Fionn Shi, the next one of the RPG Cossacks. But yeah, Vanchev reeling in Travis big time here on this opening lap.
Little adjustment on the radiator shroud there to get the operating temp of that engine where he wants it to be, get it in the window. Leveraging the draft a little bit here, and of course using Travis as the rabbit up front as well. Always, I know it helps me out a big time in qualifying if I have somebody a little bit quicker than me that I can use as my pace setter. For sure. I'll go a little deeper. If they're going deeper, I'm going deeper, kind of a thing. So indeed, for Vanchev, leveraging everything he can with the fact that he's got Pettit right out front.
Side by side in this little group here behind. That is going to be, I think that group actually entails Bolofsky. I got to apologize to the Energy Corsa group. He and Edward Kennedy, similar kits. No pun intended. Kit Bolofsky here in the fast group is in the middle of this pack. He's second in line. It was Edward Kennedy that went second overall and third overall now in the first group on the Energy kit here in the fast group. Oh, wow. That from Jose Alejandro Halfin was a bit aggressive. The 787 trying to get by Sarah Bradley. He gathered it up well, but that was kind of a late decision to go in the hairpin, and you can see he's got the pack stacked up behind him, so he's feeling that pressure, because like you said, Rob, it is a detriment to your qualifying pace to have to pass someone, but it's a much bigger detriment to get past. And when you start feeling the heat, you start feeling those love taps from behind, you know that you need to go or they're going in on you.
Let's throw this out there that Alexander Vanchev went P1 on lap 2. We talked about the fact that 2 really not the fast lap, 3 and 4 being the really quick ones. He actually got quicker than Abernathy on lap number 2. He goes even faster on lap 3 with a 54.308. He's got a couple of tenths on Rayanne Gandor, the Canadian for RPG in the 725. Fionn Shi now third, Pettit fourth, Abernathy still holding on to P5, very impressive. But again, the big final laps coming for everybody now. Abernathy did a 54.708. He's still holding on to P5. But again, here come the final circuits out of these drivers, and we're going to see what pace we get when lap 4 goes in the books. Vanchev does a 54.136. He goes P1. Fionn Shi jumping up into the second spot. Toniolo goes to third. Max Weiland into fourth. Bolofsky in fifth. Murphy sixth. Chaparro seventh. Gandor in eighth. Halfin ninth. Bradley 10th. On that last lap, Abernathy goes from 5th to 15th. Still solid.
Still good, but definitely a big shuffle there, and you can see half a second better overall. But check out how close these kids are from second to Abernathy there. 2/10. Alexander Vanchev's got the field covered by a lot, but then it's only 3/10 from the front row to the 8th row.
Wow.
Talk about a big swing right there. So, whew.
Yeah, that's tight for sure. 54.136. Vanchev backs up the pole from yesterday. And again, we talked about Travis Pettit being on the pole for KA100 Junior. The best he could manage here in the X30 category was 13th. So not able to back up the pace that he showed in the 100cc class in 125. Pettit goes P13 inside row 7 starting spot alongside Felipe Benito. So work to be done for Pettit to get himself back into the fight. But X30 Junior done. Vanchev, Shi, Toniolo, Weiland, and Bolofsky, the Fast Five.
There's a look at Ryan Norberg's on-site Norberg Nation, Norberg Karting Academy setup. He'll be looking for a little more today. It was probably the biggest shakeup in Pro X30 qualifying in quite some time, with Jacob Kollar's tire strategy paying off, but also that kind of half and half of track conditions sent guys like Austin Garrison, who eventually ended up on the podium, down to the mid-20s. Paulie Massimino also into the top 10 down there. Enzo Vinmontiano was fighting with Paulie before the two got together. He was 28th yesterday, and Enzo's won here before in the junior ranks. So now we've got them all back on the same field on slick tires, And as you can see, the RPG group already happy with one pole, but they want some more. Let's go down and hear at least from the driver who got the job done in X30 Junior, Alexander Vanchev.
Thanks, Xander. Vanchev, you're on pole yesterday. Didn't get the win in X30, got the win in KA yesterday. Now we're going to go for a win maybe in X30 Junior. How'd that pole lap feel?
I actually had a pass on that lap. It felt pretty good, though. You know, I had a little bit of a sniff of drafts, but no, the kart was really dialed for that lap.
Yesterday in that main event, I know you mentioned to me earlier you had the pace to go out there and win it, got stuck in some battles. What can we do to kind of get out of that?
I'd like to try and stay in the lead pack for sure. Not make dumb passes and try and check out like I did in the pre-final. That would be ideal.
All right, thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Yeah, indeed, Xander. We saw what Vanchev was able to do in both the pre-finals yesterday, getting away from the chaos kind of behind him, not making any dumb passes like he had said. I love that line. But again, that's the key. We saw some drivers pull away in the pre-finals yesterday. We didn't really see that in the main events. Everybody able to kind of step things up and not let anybody check out. Vanchev, of course, was in the middle of that, the tight scraps in both of those categories through the main events. I expect we'll see more of that this afternoon as well.
Let's take a quick break here and a word from our partners before the Pro X30 drivers roll. We'll be back with more action from Orlando, Florida. Thanks for watching so far. We hope you'll enjoy the rest here as the stars of the Pro X30 division are ready to go after this.
I need a new 219 chain. I need a 77 tooth sprocket. I need some more chain lube, and I need it probably as soon as like tomorrow. Dude, are you even listening? Like, we need this to run this weekend.
Want anything else?
What do you mean?
I already got it in the Kart on Acceleration Kart Racing's online store, bro. All orders over $200 get free shipping.
Oh, throw in a set of tires.
Done.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free on orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Shop AKR.com.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this branding business, okay? Branding this, branding that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Karts onto the racetrack for the first group of your Pro X30s. Here we go with 44 drivers on the list. And yesterday, Rob, this class, it had at points a big group. Ultimately, it kind of boiled down to 4 in the main event of Olin Galley, Austin Garrison, Ryan Norberg, and Joe Turney. But again, when you have a quali that isn't traditional with the mixed conditions, you kind of lose some of those top drivers maybe further in the pack that weren't able to get their way out of it. Or, again, you have some other ones that maybe were further up that shouldn't have been off of their dry pace. But either way, that was not an ideal start for the 22 of Bernardo Gentile, one of the Brazilians here this weekend with the CRG USA group led by Ewan Jeffrey, who's around there in the last corner.
Yeah, a number of Brazilians coming up with Orlandokartcenter to run with, again, the CRG American Works team here with Ewan Jeffrey. We'll see them run throughout. They're actually going to expand the program a little bit. Last year running primarily the Texas Sprint Racing Series. We're going to see them here at the Winter Series and the SKUSA Pro Tour throughout 2025 as well. So excited to see those drivers get to work here on the CRG program, the historic brand that has won so many races over the years, the SuperKarts USA competition. Again, you said, though, yesterday we ended up with a group of 4 drivers. I think there'll be more that'll be able to step to the forefront here. We'll see which drivers, of course, find that speed in the late going. Diego Ramos was kind of in the fight with Paulie Massimino, had an issue, I believe, with his brake package. He had some trouble there as well. We'll see other drivers step to the forefront who may have had trouble yesterday and try to kind of rebound back once again.
Let's see what the benchmark will be for the likes of the fast group drivers. For now, Quentin McPherson, 57.645. Austin Garrison's one of the drivers in the fast group. He'll have to beat that and probably better than that. Let's go down to Alex.
Flew under the radar as one of the guys that's in the battle, right? A top 3 finish there, second after Ryan's penalty, but how'd you kind of sum up yesterday?
Yeah, so we had a qualifying run that wasn't our best. We ended up qualifying 25th, and then ended up making 20 spots up in the pre-final in 10 laps. You know, the red flag in the middle of the race brought everybody back together. The go-kart was on rails then. It was fast, but I know we needed to change something on the chassis to kind of help the 20-lap run go on in the main event. We made a chassis adjustment slight because we knew we were pretty quick in the pre-final, but you know it just wasn't enough to go and hang with Ryan after he got around me. I got a clean start and everything, and you know I knew I was pretty low on the tire pressure. I'm like, all right, it's gonna come in around lap 10 or 11, which it did, but it never really fired off how those guys went. So you know today we thought about it for a while last night, and we made a pretty big adjustment for today, and hopefully it's enough to go and keep up with them, and we can fight more for the win.
Conditions different today. Did you notice anything in that warm-up, even though it's pretty short?
It's so hard to go and tell. You know, there's a lot of traffic that's out there, and the track temp was like 40-something, I think, this morning, and you know, there's not much you can really go and do. If you go high tire pressure, it doesn't really matter because the tire temperature isn't in. So when you only get 4 laps of everything trying to work the tires, that you can't really base too much off the setup going into qualifying for morning warm-up.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you.
Yeah, good insight there from Austin Garrison. Again, for him, all he's got to focus on is doing better than qualifying. He was 20th, like he said, in qualifying yesterday. That is not what you'd see out of an Austin Garrison. Put a lot of pressure on him to be able to really work his way forward and really push the tires probably a little harder than he may have wanted to, trying to get himself back up. Had a really good run. I think it was 25th, I think, in qualifying. Went plus 20 on the way up in the pre-final. So he'll be looking for more, and I love the fact that Mike and Alex probably sat down and went over the potential moves. Sounds like they've taken a big swing potentially at something to try to find out what they need. He gets the helmet on. We'll climb behind the wheel here, get in the seat of that Speed Concepts racing machine. We'll find out very soon if Garrison's move was a positive one.
He's at least got nothing but fast drivers in front of him that all should hopefully set a good pace for him to roll with as the fast group leaves the grid and gets ready to do battle once again here with the clock. The 53.402 by Raheem Alibi, leading a Rocket Racing Company 1-2 in that slow group over Luke Welcome. 2.5 tenths back, Brian Garcia on the Chad Dawkin Racing Kart Republic third. Lorenzo Kaufman's Pro X30 debut fourth. Quentin McPherson, before the interview there, was top of the heap. Ends up down in fifth at Tiziano Rosso Orcel, Brandon Comerford, Kellen Spears, John Liam Gray, Stephen DeKaiser. And I think today, Rob, we're going to have a bit of a pack party right now. They are slowly warming the temps up, and I don't think anyone is going to allow themselves to go ahead of Ryan Norberg or Joe Turney. They want to follow them.
Yeah, I wanted to see how they rolled off the grid and what that first opening lap would look like. Obviously, as we know, the temperatures are now up to 48. A really good insight there from Austin Garrison, too, kind of reiterating what you and I talked about during that morning warm-up session. There's really so little to be able to learn from a section like that. You're not learning about the chassis. Like you said, even if you pound up the tire pressure, you're just not going to be able to build the heat in when the track temp is 40, 45, something like that. So indeed, just get out there, kind of get the cobwebs cleared out, like I always say. This, of course, more important here, qualifying to get a feel. But again, it's only 4 laps as well. 8-degree temperature increase from when they were on track before, maybe even a little bit less than that. More kart placement strategy, being in the right place at the right time, and not getting caught up by a slower driver in front of you.
I will say, as much as they may have wanted to trail those 2 drivers in front, they've already blasted away from the group here. Olin Galley seems to be holding up Paulie Massimino, so the number 5 is going to go right on by him down here in turn number 5. Behind him, Austin Garrison looked like he also made a move, but Ryan and Joe are all alone at this point. No one's going to get a toe off them. They did not get a good outlap. Everyone else did. I think another testament to those 2 being on another level, it feels like, than the rest of the field. They're able to turn those tires on early in the race to build the gap, and we're seeing that same kind of ability right now.
One of the things that separates the drivers who are super good, the ones that we see race at the front all the time, is the ability on pull tires, right? This is, this was a Gary Carlton thing back in the early days as well, when he was able to, on cold tires, be able to pull out to like a 2-second, 2.5, 3-second lead in every shifter kart race he was in, and then he would just maintain that pace. He wouldn't pull out to 10 seconds. He'd get the 2-second, 3-second gap he wanted. He'd bail down into the pace he wanted, having been able to really maximize his pace on cold tires. In a session like this, in a day like this, in a weekend like this in the Winter Series, where it's so cold here, the drivers who are the absolute best are the ones that are going to be able to navigate. They're somehow going to be able to find the pace. They're somehow going to be able to roll more corner speed than anybody else, despite the fact that the grip levels aren't there. That's why drivers like Norberg and Turney are able to stretch away. We'll see which other drivers can do it as well, but you watch these guys already stretch away on lap 1 and 2 from the other drivers around. Maybe they don't end up with the ultimate pace, but at least they got themselves out of any chaos or being chased by any other drivers.
Joe Turney's flying through the S's right there. Great shot by our cameraman to catch the airtime. Let's see what Norberg does on his second lap at speed. It'll be a 53 flat. Turney, a 53.1. He'll go to P2. Garrison into 4th. Colin Lloyd up the board. Caden McQueen will jump up as well. Raheem Alibi still hanging on strong for now.
That's the 3rd lap in the books. Norberg P1, Turney in 2nd, Garrison 4th, McQueen 5th, Lloyd 6th, Ramos 7th, Gentile 8th. Luke Welcome, who is 2nd, back to 9th right now, but Raheem Alibi, who was almost 3/10 quicker than his teammate Luke Welcome, still holding on to P3. I'm going to expect, based on what we saw in some of these other classes, him may end up 15th to 20th when they get their 4th lap in the books, but we'll see where Alibi ends up. Norberg still looking good, though, with a 53.090, almost a full 10th on Turney there. Here comes the checkered flag.
Here we go to the line. Who's going to jump it? Norberg, 52.95. Turney, 52.90 to the pole for JT. Massimino up the board. Galley, it's still more, boys. Still got more coming to the line. Caden McQueen to 3rd. Colin Lloyd to 4th. Jensen Burnett to 5th. But already, we're focused on Turney here because it looks like it will stick. 52.908. Caden McQueen to 3rd. Colin Lloyd, the rookie, to 4th. Jensen Burnett, technically I would call him a rookie as well, only 1 senior start. 2 rookies in the top 5 on that REM Cosmic.
And how about Raheem Alibi finishing up in 10th out of that slow group? So I've said somewhere between 15 and 20. Proved me right. Garrison, although better than yesterday, still only 11th for Garrison. He was 76 thousandths behind Alibi's time. Martinez, Vidmontien, Tortada, Gentile, 11th back to 15th. But again, big runs for Turney, able to get that extra pace in the final circuit. He goes 44 thousandths of a second faster than Ryan Norberg. Rookies impressive in McQueen, Lloyd, and Burnett, essentially there, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Olin Galley right there, 6th spot. Paulie Massimino was strong as well, 7th. Diego Ramos, 8th. James Overbeck, some speed there as well. He'll go up to 9th. And Raheem Alibi, fastest of the first group. Man, that's solid. Ends up P10, row 5, outside spot for the pre-final run for Alibi. He'll start alongside James Overbeck, last year's KA100 Senior Pro Tour champion.
Talk about a sneaky last lap there. The Brazilian Diego Ramos just snuck into the top 10. Not a great happy hour and a so-so race, but again, don't forget yesterday, he was almost into the fight from pretty far back in that main event until he and Joe Turney went at it there in the chicane, and it sent Diego into the dirt, and then the packs kind of split off. That PSL Bureau Art, I think, has more to show for it
than what he was able to put on display on Saturday. If we remember back to a year ago, a couple weeks, I guess, away from a year ago, Diego Ramos got his first U.S. major win with PSL karting at the Rotax Max Winter Trophy here in Orlando. It was his first U.S. win in a long time. And knowing that he's gotten the Barella Art fast around this place before, knowing that he was good yesterday, could be maybe a dark horse pick rolling from that 8th spot today.
Yeah, listen, again, Garrison talked about the fact that they're making changes. He's not the only one that's making changes, right? Maybe some minor adjustments for Norberg and Turney based on the development of the racetrack. But guys that are further back, if you're outside the top 5, top 10, you're taking bigger swings to try to find some speed, right? We'll see what happens with the PSL camp with Ramos on that Barella Art. We know that Garrison made some changes. He could step things up. Like you said, a really strong 4th lap puts him back up inside the top 10 there. We'll see how he races in the pre-final.
We'll be, of course, I'm sure, talking with Joe Turney here in a bit. Hopefully we'll get to talk to a few more of the top pro X30 qualifiers. Great story for Caden McQueen on that backup chassis frame after the carnage yesterday that forced him to go to the backup frame, broken seat strut for the Energy Corsa Racing Americas driver. He ends up 3rd overall here in qualifying. But fellow Brit, Joe Turney, top of the boards once again where he left off yesterday. Alex?
Thank you, Xander. Joe, got on the last lap there. Did you think you had enough for pole?
Yeah, not quite, to be honest. I was behind Ryan and wanted to see what he was going to do. But, yeah, the first few laps, he was definitely stronger. And then the last lap, once the tyres got there, I managed to do a good lap. But, yeah, it was pretty close, I think.
Different conditions today. How do you kind of expect the racing to go in comparison to yesterday?
It's going to be close again. Like, there's a lot of people up the front, like, capable of doing the job. So, yeah, weather's more like the first 2 or 3 days that we were here. So, I think we know where we need to be, but it's going to be close.
I found it interesting yesterday. You mentioned that the pre-final conditions actually kind of suited you in the kart better than the final did. Do you think this hotter temperature, now that it's getting into the afternoon, is going to be better for you?
No, probably not. I don't know. Like, we seemed so strong in that pre-final where the track wasn't too grippy and the temperature was a bit lower. Obviously, we were still super strong in the final, but yeah, today's going to be probably a bit stickier and a bit hotter.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Xander, an interesting thing, I think, you know, we talked about, he's talking about the temperatures. I just like the way we picked him up a couple times to how he was attacking the racetrack. That 11, 12, 13 combination, he was just throwing that car through. Even without the grip, he was just tossing that thing through 11 and 12 to position it. Perfect shot right here, right now. Watch him just climb up over here, hammers it coming back through. The cart's literally rotating in the opposite direction of the corner. Fantastic run through that particular complex of corners, which I think is really crucial to getting a super fast lap around this track.
It was a good run for him, but it was also a good run and a good rebound run for Caden McQueen on the energy. He was in the top 5 in warm-up. He ends up 3rd provisionally here in qualifying. Alex?
Thanks, Xander. Caden, we were just joking around saying the chassis works. Clearly, the backup chassis is pretty handy for you there, top 3 spot. How would you rate your qualifying?
Yeah, it was good. You know, it's quite short, so unfortunately I didn't really get as much heat in the tyre as I wanted to early on, so it made the lap a little bit more difficult. But yeah, no, it was good. It will do for the racing, and it puts us in a good position going into today.
Yesterday was your first race day here in the States. I mean, how did it kind of feel now that you got in kind of that first race under your belt?
Yeah, I mean, the pre-final was really good. Obviously, unfortunately, in the final we had a little bit of an issue with the kart, so yeah, it made it a little bit more difficult, and I was almost like a little bit of a roadblock, but we're coming back today and hopefully fighting for the win.
Thank you, Caden.
No problem, thanks.
Back to you, boys.
Good to hear from Caden there. Good to see him all smiles. That's a much better start to the day and a much safer spot to start from, too, for P3.
Well, he got thrown into the deep end coming here this weekend, right? To start things off, his first time racing here in the U.S., first time under the Orlando Kart Center, where a lot of drivers have numerous races of experience, years of experience, you name it. So I think he's been very strong out of the gate, and I think he's going to be a factor here in the main event this afternoon.
Another driver who was a surprise factor yesterday, maybe not a surprise to some, was Speed Concepts Racing's Colin Lloyd, an unplanned Pro X30 debut here this weekend. Been a few years since he's driven the package, focusing on KA100, but it's all worked out for the better for him. He was in the top 10 all day long, and he's 4th after qualifying, best of the black, white, and red machines. Alex?
Thanks, Xander. Yeah, Colin Lloyd, a top 5 starting spot here today, finishing off where you ended off yesterday in that top 5 spot. So how would you kind of, describe how this weekend's gone for you? Because like Xander mentioned, a bit of a surprise entry for you. Not your first time in X30, but first time in a while. So how do you think you've been able to get up the pace so quickly?
I definitely feel like I did really good considering it's my first weekend on the newer tire. I wasn't used to that the first couple of days, so it took a little bit to get used to. But other than that, I feel like it's been really good this weekend, and we have a package to win.
Yeah, you had the package to win. I mean, what do you think it's going to take to get up to those top 2 guys?
I think we're going to make a little change just to try something different. The kart feels good, but I feel like I just need a little bit more out of it. And after that, I feel like I'll be golden.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Back to you, boys.
Xander, what's really interesting to me is you've got 2 very quick Top Gun drivers at that SCR camp, right? You got Austin Garrison, you got Colin Lloyd. How similar are their driving styles? Are they able to kind of do the same thing? Can Colin do one thing? Can Austin do the other thing? And can they come together? Sometimes you get drivers with way different driving styles. You can't mix that kind of testing during a race weekend. It'll be interesting. Like he said, he wants to make a change. Garrison just made a change. Can they sit down and go over the data together? Are they similar enough that they can leverage both of the inputs?
We'll say off the racetrack, they both do seem very similar when it comes down to personality. Yep. 2 very quiet, kind of soft-spoken drivers that have a lot of speed and come from relatively modest backgrounds. Colin Lloyd has had a handful of opportunities that's gotten him outside of the state of Florida. Of course, he's won on the national stage at Homestead before. He's won over at Utah on a last-second opportunity a couple of years ago for the SKUSA Pro Tour as well. Happy to see him and his father Ryan getting the opportunity they've got this weekend with SCR and Speed Concepts Racing. I mean, again, mentioned that this is kind of a home race for them here at Orlando. The Central Florida-based group is big in size this weekend, probably the biggest contingent they've had, maybe even bigger than what they would like at points. When you talk with Alex and Mike, they really enjoy being right around that 8-driver kind of cap size, but they've got a bunch of them. They're all pretty fast.
Yeah, it's a full 10,
yeah,
for sure. They got a lot of drivers in the junior category, kind of a new look field. Obviously, they had a big year last year, late in the second half of the season with Diego Ardiles, but a new look kind of junior field. Tyrone Kemper, as we know, stepping things up in a big way there as well. They got Mateo Calderon, they got Jensen Michelke, they got a number of different drivers, plus Garrison and Lloyd looking really good here in the Pro X30 category.
Here's a look at Miguel Mir in the 477 Orsolon Racing Tony Kart. P2 on that lap. He'll jump up ahead of Nicky Coelho, but Franco Crivelli remains the fastest so far out of the Inter MS Tony Kart camp. Yesterday, they were all pretty close to him in the sunny conditions, but as this race, oh, whoa, we got 2 off in the chicane. One of the Carapolati, that's Scott Carapolati maybe, and the 410.
Fonseca, Charlie Fonseca.
Yeah, Charlie Fonseca on the AM Racing Team X-Spree, 10th. Scott Carapolati had a great day yesterday, 7th here as things stand, and it may stick there at best because that was a weird place for the pair to go off.
I think one of the things to look for, number one, does anybody have anything for Crivelli, first and foremost? Mir, Coelho, Matos, the drivers are kind of in the top 4 there. And secondly, for Nicky Coelho, remember, he did not qualify extremely well. He finished, I think, qualified 7th yesterday. He'd like to start a lot closer up, not having to battle with Mir at the very end. Coelho now goes to P2 within about a 10th and a half. So, yeah, much better qualifying here for Nicky Coelho right now as he's in front of Matos, Mir, Nico Rivas. Yeah, so he's got the job done. Big improvement, +5 in terms of his qualifying from yesterday.
That's much needed, and I'm sure going to be a much better reception when he gets back to the pit area from the Franklin Motorsports Group to know that he's at least got a better spot to fight from. Front row starting spots for Nicky Coelho, and once again for Franco Crivelli. Rafa Matos from yesterday's front row back to row 2 today, but the Velocity Racing Sodi driver still in the hunt. 3rd, only 2/10 off the top time. Miguel Mir about another 10th back to 4th. Rivas there in 5th for RPG. Paul Elefante is kind of the first of that next group back from Rivas. So big improvement from Nico.
And that's the issue, of course, with Scott Carapolletti. He was kind of the best of the rest yesterday. Top 5 were Crivelli, Matos, Coelho, and Mir. Those were really the guys that were going for that podium finish. And it was Carapolletti was kind of all by himself there in 5th. In fact, he started to put the pressure on Miguel Mir and eventually got by. The issue he had on the racetrack with Fonseca drops them both to deep and then outside of the top 10. Carapolletti 9th, Fonseca 11th. Both those drivers will need to put their heads down to work their way forward in the pre-final.
Well, this brings us to another quick break in the action. 2 more classes still to go. We've got your mini Swifts on deck.
Pro and Master Shifter will follow. And then it'll be time to go racing here from Orlando. So we'll take a quick break and see you on the other side of it.
Brandon, why are there all these
All right,
charges
stop.
for just over $200?
Stop. I'm tired of all this branding business, okay? Branding this, branding that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent. Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here, told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Kart.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
The KA100 Master wrapping up their qualifying sessions. We work our way through those qualifying runs. Just two more categories still to come here. Mini Swift in the Pro and Master Shifter category still to get their qualifying runs in before we wrap up all the grids for the pre-finals. After Master Shifter and Pro Shifter cap theirs, we'll head right into the wheel-to-wheel action with the very crucial KA100 Junior Flight B and Flight A pre-finals. 22 drivers from each race will transfer through. No LCQ here this weekend for the KA100 Juniors, but indeed 22 drivers transferring, and you've got to get the job done in your pre-final. Otherwise, you're in the no points B main this afternoon. From there, of course, we'll get into our lunch break and then right back at it with KA100 Senior for what will, I believe, be an 8-lapper. We'll confirm that, but I think we cut 2 laps off the pre-finals and the finals here for this weekend to try to get a little better on time. We went very deep into the evening yesterday. The lights on, although, hey, Xander and I both love watching shifter car races under the lights, and the drivers loved it as well, but it got super late into the evening.
Yeah, it was It was a bit past, dinner time, maybe, just by a hair. But to be fair, I mean, can't complain about good racing going on all day long at the end of the day. And I'm sure that our viewers at home enjoyed it, but, they're the ones getting to enjoy it from the couch. It got a little bit chilly. I was walking in the gates here with head flagman Aaron Likens. He's like, it's not supposed to be like this. What are we doing right here? Kai Johnson is collected with one of the HRI Mexico drivers, Isaac Moreno. And this is over at turn number 1. Johnson has already got the nose cone dislodged, it looks like. He's got the kart fired, but check out that mud, dirt pile of soft grass. He's stuck and
I want to say that happened to him yesterday too, if I'm not mistaken. I think they had an issue, or Kai Johnson had an issue yesterday in the qualifying as well. That's just not going in the right direction.
So the first group of 2 for Mini Swift here, at least, folks, is about to give us their first laps on the racetrack. The 20 or so from 21st, 22nd are on back from final practice. First lap across the line for Simon Klein will get beaten by Bruck on the JHTD Kart Republic. Let's see if anyone else can go better. It'll be a 62.81 that seems to hold on the outlap, with a lot more shifting and shuffling here as they jockey to find a good place on the racetrack to drive from. Check out the 124 RPG Cosmic going down the inside. That is a driver that did not really get much of a lap there on the opening circuit. Esteban Roach right there going on down the inside now again, or gonna get it this time on the AM Racing Team driver ahead of him.
Almost 11 o'clock here local time. We still have not seen the mercury rise to 50 degrees. Still 48 degrees the ambient temperature here. So again, continuing to discuss the fact that these opening couple of laps, tough for these drivers here on cold tires, doing the best they can to get a lot of heat built into the tires. Lap 4 is going to be the crucial one. Really has been the theme kind of our commentary here this morning, talking about the fact that these drivers need to make sure that they set themselves up well for a really strong lap 4. I don't think you're going to be seeing a lot of drivers using lap 3 as their best. Got to be that final lap here when the tires, of course, continue to come up to temperature. It's got to be the last one. You've got to make sure you're positioned correctly. Don't get caught up by the driver in front of you. And then hit every apex, man. There's 13 corners around this racetrack. It comes down to the driver at the end. The crew can do the best they can in terms of setup, getting the tires with the pressure they want. But in the end, the driver still got to get the job done, Tanner. And on that last lap, lap number 4, they have to hit all of their marks if they want to get a good qualifying run.
This is setting up for that as well. You're looking again at lap number 4 as being the money lap, Rob, but also you're trying to make sure that lap number 3 is a good position lap, while it's also a good lap on its own, because you just don't know. Lap number 4, you end up in a bad spot, you're going to need to fall back on lap 3, but then if you feel like you can use lap 3 to put yourself in a good spot for lap 4, you sacrifice the 3rd lap. Right now here on screen again with the 124 RPG Cosmic of Esteban Roach, that is a good lap 3 and a potentially good starting spot for lap number 4, being that far back from the group in front of them. Not too far back, but no, they're not going to get 4. Checkers out now.
Wow.
3 laps, and that's all she wrote for the minis. And Colton Bruck on the top over Nicholas Mose. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to beat that. The first couple might have gotten another lap. You see Simon Jack Klein has gotten another one. But most of the pack got the checker right there.
Yeah, very interesting. A little wrinkle here into the qualifying, at least the first group for the drivers here in the Mini Swift category. Xander's thinking that maybe a couple of drivers may have snuck through to get the 4th. Colton Brook on top, Nicholas Mose, Nathan Ramirez, Dominic Gaddis. Those are your top 4 right now. 60.902 to a 69.57, 55 thousandths first and second. Does anybody get that 4th lap? We'll see whether or not they roll back through here. Remember what the 132 of Simon Klein, yeah, looks like he's still pushing.
Oh yeah, and that'll be enough to go to the top.
There it is.
Big lap right there. A few more will go. There's about 10 more to run the line. Let's see the MPG entry. Dominic Gaddis to 4th. Esteban Roach on the RPG entry to 5th. Big lap out of Hudson Kelly to 8th. But Simon Jack Klein makes the most of that bonus lap there to go over Nick Mose, and it was about a split down the middle, Rob. It looks like half the group got 3, half got 4.
I was just counting them up. It looked to me like 8 minutes. Man, that's crucial. We talked about how much better that 4th lap was going to be. Clayton Stiles was the best of the 3 lappers, 11th at 61.710. 1.1 seconds back, and that's there. So there's a really good little look at what you need. Yeah, trouble down here. A couple of drivers having trouble getting out of the narrow exit of pit lane.
What in the world do we have right here? This is a log jam
we got one of the Bennett stuck in the wall. The 125. There's one of the interim SKRs. I mean,
every mechanic with his hand in the air. Alex Papao there. What is happening?
I mean, that's something you'd expect out of maybe the slow group of the micros when it's their first time leaving the grid in a jam up. Not the fast group of the minis.
Right.
That was silly.
Everybody trying to rush their way out. Listen, we did talk about the fact that you want to be the first driver out of the racetrack. You want the open track to not have to worry about anybody else battling you. A couple of drivers getting collected coming through what is essentially a bit of a narrow exit coming off of pit lane here between the barriers and the fencing. So indeed a little bit of excitement there. A number of drivers getting pushed back. But whoever did get out early is going to be in good position. And listen, you've lost a bit of time getting out there as well. We saw a couple drivers that are not able to get that fourth lap in. You wonder how many of those guys that were stuck further back there while we were waiting may not be able to get that third lap. It only takes a couple of seconds to not get to that white flag, get under that checkered flag when Aaron Likens is throwing it. It could change things here in qualifying.
7 minutes elapsed over the two groups, means roughly 2.5 minutes left. Will it be a split down the middle again? The fast group here, I mean, that's probably half the reason they jammed out the pits, right?
True.
Again, not wanting to miss on the fourth lap, seeing how much it benefited the slow group that nearly the entire top 10 got, all the top 10 were the drivers that got the faster laps. Granted, that's a bit of a skewed statistic because that was the first drivers released on the racetrack, meaning they were the faster ones of the group from practice. But still, it's a race to the front of the pack right now. Maxwell Macha leads it. Back to Benja Fernandez and Zane Burgess, yesterday's top two finishers. Second and third in this group. Aston Wyatt on that Ryan Perry Motorsport Nitro kart. First weekend with them. Then back to the Bennett of Royce Vega. And one more of the Kart Republics. Trying to see who that is at the back of the pack. Well, we'll get a better view here now. It's Liam Nachawati in his first weekend with them. Another great run for Liam yesterday night as well, as Benja now commands the group.
Yeah, we'll see how things play out. This is the group that's working together. They've all got similar speed, so they are definitely going to work together here for the first couple laps. No need to be dicing on lap 3 or lap number 4 unless you believe you have the pace to go a bit quicker. Otherwise, you're going to step back a little bit, leverage the draft, and try to use that kind of accordion effect to be able to get that draft and get that good lap. And all you got to do is check up a little bit on lap number 3 to be able to kind of maximize the draft of the drivers in front of you on lap 4. Benja Fernandez, yesterday's winner, goes P1 on lap number 2, so the speed is already there. A 60.412 for Fernandez, only 83 thousandths quicker than Royce Vega, last year's Winter Series Mini Swift champion. Vega in the 161, a 60.495. First driver to below the 60-second mark, Colton Schniegenberg on lap number 2, 59.983.
Big lap for Colton there, but I think this lap could be better for this entire group because they were battling coming to the line. Now they've about stayed single file. Benja Fernandez is going to pull away. He'll get a good end of it. Burgess now side by side with Macha. That'll hurt the pair of Sodis. What does it shake up? No one better than Colton.
Well, look at this. They're battling each other into turn number 1. When you're making that inside run into turn number 1, you've lost so much momentum through. It feels good to be able to go to the leader, pass a guy, but you're just not getting the speed you need through those corners. So the number 156 is Zane Burgess, who still leads the way there, has not been able to leverage it as of yet. Colton Schniegenberg on lap 2, still the best of 59.983. Here comes the checker flag. A bunch of drivers are not going to get lap number 4.
No, they will not. This will be it. Now, this fast group, again, like you said, passed it in turns 1 and 2. Basically, they don't get lap number 4 either because they were fighting amongst themselves. So, that was a big chunk that just came off one of the go-karts right there.
GoPro, you think? Potentially?
Maybe. The way it, I mean, if it was, that was a very light GoPro. That thing didn't look like it did any damage to the cart that it either flew off or got hit by. Look at this, though, for Zane Burgess. Big run of the line on Benja Fernandez. Will it be enough? He's got a big shove from Aston Wyatt. Yes, it will.
Boom. Yep. Oh, that was big. Got the shove, got a good run through 13, plus got the shove from Aston Wyatt. 59.783 for Burgess. Wyatt goes into second. Royce Vega third. Schniegenberg not able to get a fourth lap in. Still a 59.983, only a couple tenths of a second behind, but he'll end up fourth, not getting that fourth lap. He's the best of the 3 lappers. Schniegenberg is up into the 4th spot. Santiago Orioli goes to 5th. Wynn Godshock 6th. Cameron Johnson 7th, Jaden Francisco, Benja Fernandez, yesterday's winner, and Enzo Di Janeiro rounding out the top 10. William Vitor, another driver who wasn't able to get 4 laps in there, Xander.
Yeah, William Vitor down in 12th position, but only a couple hundredths off the drivers who did, including his teammate in Liam Nachawati. Brandon Shore on the DRT Racing Machine, 13th. Callan Berghoff, Maxwell Macha was in that group on the 4th lap, but obviously got passed. And again, that's where, while he did complete the lap, it basically was a wash for him. Jake Manolio, Simon Klein out of the slow group there, 17th is where he'll slot in along with Nick Bose. Not bad at all.
That's not bad at all. I think you're in the second group there. You think about 41 drivers in. You know, you're looking at probably 21st on back. He ends up coming in 17th, so probably about a 3 to a 4 position improvement, able to get quicker than a couple of drivers at the tail end of the fast group, so not that bad as well. As we said, for Simon Klein, he'll line up on the inside of row number 9 alongside Nicholas Mose for that pre-final this afternoon. Your Mini Swift category brought to you by Bennett Kart. Here's a bit of a replay here. That's that piece coming off. Yeah, it looks to me like it's the GoPro of that Jay Howard kart on the side there.
Nachawati, I think.
Let's have a look here.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yes, indeed. Liam Nachawati losing the GoPro, so what a heartbreaker for Liam. That'll be a loss of fast lap for Nachawati. The good news is the second to last lap, or the last lap for him wasn't his best. It was actually his 3rd. So he'll only drop, I think, 1 spot from 11th to 12th.
You're right.
If it's a loss of fast lap, I believe QUALY is a loss of fast lap, race is a DQ. So I'll have to check into that. But in either case, Liam Nachawati, great catch by the camera crew, by our booth team as well. And bummer for Liam Nachawati losing the GoPro there down that back straightaway. That could, depending on how the penalty matrix flows, hurt him a lot, or maybe just hurt him a little. We'll have to wait and see.
So Xander, working our way through qualifying, just one more category still to go, one more race group, if you will, because we do have 2 categories within the Pro and Master Shifter race group here. They'll be rolling on track here very soon. And in fact, we are on schedule. We're about 3 minutes away from the start of that Pro and Master Shifter category. We were significantly, I think, off the pace, or off the schedule rather, yesterday at this time here. So nice to see where we are right now. Pro and Master Shifter drivers getting ready to roll onto the racetrack. 3 more minutes before we head out with them and get them on track to find out who's the quickest there. And again, after that, right after this break, folks, when we get back, we're going to go into, of course, Master and Pro Shifter qualifying. From there, our first of 2 flights for the KA100 Junior drivers. 22 from each race will transfer into the A main this afternoon. Otherwise, stay with us. More qualifying to come. In fact, we'll wrap it up after this break.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here, told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental U.S.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Master Shifter getting ready to roll here. Pro Shifter, as you can see, on deck on the side. These 2 divisions will race together, but with the time slot allotted, they will practice, or they will qualify separately. So the Master Shifter drivers, their engines are fired and ready to go. Your Pro Shifter drivers are just now starting to get their gear on and get ready here. Here's a look at Gavin Bailiff on the TKG Birol Art Colors. It was a random hub failure was the diagnosis of the issue that sent his rear tire flying off and into the catch fence yesterday. And it took him out of a 3rd place run, a pretty much near lock on the podium. And we've got a couple drivers going off, including Skitchy Barnes there going off in the chicane. So we'll let the master shifters sort out what they've got going on. Let's go down to pit lane here. Pro shifter sophomore Anthony Martella is there with Alex.
Thanks, Xander. Anthony, always good to have you back at the kart track, especially in the pro shifter class. How's the weekend gone for you so far? It looks pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, we have a pace in practice, obviously, but in the races we've just been missing a little bit, so change a few things with the go-kart should be good for qualifying.
Burrell looks pretty strong this weekend. You have Danny with you, Mateus with you. I mean, how much of a help have they been towards you?
Well, obviously looking at the data, just we know where we're lacking a bit, so just going back, reviewing the video, the data again, and making sure we're all set to go for qualifying.
Thank you, Anthony.
No problem.
Anthony Martella, again, this year we'll see him behind the wheel of Pro Shifter Kart as much as possible. We'll see him, of course, over with Rob at the USF Pro Championships quite a bit as well. Happy to have him with us in January and to have Danny Formal on the grid once again. Being able to watch him and Mateus Morgado put on a show for the second year in a row. Fantastic stuff yesterday. Hopefully today it'll be a little bit closer in the main and another driver looking to get closer to him. Just needs probably a better starting spot. Vincenzo Saraceno was fast yesterday. Alex?
A better starting spot and some more luck for Vincenzo is what he's going to be looking for today. But how would you kind of describe how the weekend's gone?
Honestly, not too bad. Happy hour was pretty good. Just like you guys have said, need a little luck, and hopefully we'll be there because we've got the speed. Just need to put everything together.
Rolling off, you're in the front row of the qualifying. I mean, obviously it doesn't really matter where you line up for the qualifying here, but nonetheless, some clean air. You think you put down a good lap?
I hope so. I mean, yesterday I couldn't even get out of the pit, so my happy hour first position was 4th. So I mean, hopefully if I can get a clean lap, I'll be happy with it.
Thank you, Vincenzo.
Thanks, man.
Back to you, boys.
Across the line for Vincenzo Saraceno's Maranello teammate, Skitchy Barnes, 53.82. Only 2 of the master shifter drivers are turning time, so I don't know if they, the rest of the group has opted to wait, if they got caught off guard, or if they have opted out of racing on Sunday, but it's just Skitchy and Tyler Gilbo for now. Skitchy Barnes quicker of the pair, 53.82 to Tyler Gilbo in 1.2 seconds off at a 55 flat. But there you have it for your 2 master shifters so far. They're coming to what should be the white flag, if not the checkered this time. Looking at the timer on the top of the pylon, I think they'll go to the 4-minute mark, and that'll give them one more lap around. So as they begin what we believe to be their final lap at speed, let's go down for one more final check-in with our pro shifter drivers. Gavin Bailiff.
Thanks, Xander, here with Bailiff in the cart, actually. But for Gavin, let's see if you can keep your rear tire on, huh?
Yeah, last night we had a rear hub failure, and that just took us out of contention for a podium finish. And hopefully we can not do that today and go for the win.
Spoke to you yesterday morning. You were saying you're still getting a little bit used to the chassis, but I think you've gotten pretty comfortable with the Burrell Art chassis. I mean, what can we look forward to from you today?
For sure to be just as competitive as yesterday, if not more. We did some changes overnight after the incident, but overall I think we're going to be really fast today.
Thanks, Gavin.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Final lap underway for Master Shifter Qualifying. Let's see if Skitchy can find a little more pace. He did the last lap, 52.8 to a 52.7. Will it be another improvement for the reigning Shifter Master Champ? It will, and a big one, 52 flat. Tyler Gilbo will do the same. He'll drop to a 53.2, but still holding even at that delta to Skitchy, 1.2 seconds off. So a good margin still to be found for the DRT racing driver, but it's his first race back in a while. He's getting back in the swing of it all. Skitchy Barnes, hot off his honeymoon. Congrats again to the newly married man, and he will be looking to defend that Master Shifter title once again with potentially a weekend sweep on the cards for today. Danny Formal's looking for the same in Pro Shifter. His work a whole lot harder. He's got 18 Pro Shifter drivers ready to try and knock him off the top step today, most notably probably his teammate, Mateus Morgado, who yesterday self-admitted, and Danny as well, said, you know, there was something amiss on that #1 machine because Danny fully expected Mateus to be right there with him. To put that kind of gap on him must have been more than just driver difference. So what does qualifying look like here with a level playing field, the sunny skies, and a dry racetrack? We've got them onto the circuit now. We're getting ready to find out as we let them loose. Vincenzo Saracino, the first one of the pack onto the circuit, it looks like. And just like with Master Shifter, it'll be a 4-minute timer from when the first cart hits the timing loop, plus or minus a little bit. Aaron Likens, I believe, is managing the time clock as well at the finish line. But we know that this first lap, they're going to take a moment to kind of scrub those tires in. So while a few drivers may opt to go a bit faster on the out lap, we've seen Bailiff and Saracino be a little bit quicker on their first lap to bring everything up to temperature. Mateus Morgado, Danny Formal have done more of the traditional shifter kart driver out laps, and that's really go at a slow pace to bring things up. So you can see already Gavin's wanting to kind of get clean air and go a bit faster to bring his kart up to pressure, up to temp. He's gone by Vincenzo, and after just speaking to him on the grid with the helmet on, he's locked in as he heads down the backstretch for his first lap at speed here, Rob.
Xander, that's something I think we've seen out of Gavin Bailiff since he's jumped behind the wheel of a shifter, right? He's one of those guys that's the first out of the grid, not waiting back like some of the others do. Likes to get out there, likes to leverage all 4 laps, and really has, I think, a set plan of how he comes up to speed. And listen, I agree with that, because I think everybody approaches qualifying in a certain way. There's some drivers that want to get in that rhythm, and you got to get in a rhythm sometimes. You got to leverage all the laps that are available. Guys like maybe Morgado and Formal have that time that, you know what, all I need is that 1 lap. I need to get my kart where it needs to be temp-wise, and then I'll bang out the lap. Other guys want the rhythm, as I had said. So a little different approach to all the drivers. That's why we've seen Bailiff go to the front of the charts here early on, right out of the gate, quickest driver.
No surprise that it will be still a couple seconds off, though, the Master Shifters. He was quick, but he wasn't necessarily pushing just yet.
Exactly.
So give him a minute. Let's see this lap here. Danny Formal closing in on Vincenzo Saracino. Saracino making an adjustment. You saw him rip a piece of tape off the radiator, try to cool that engine back down and keep it right in the prime operating temperature of around 125 degrees for the water.
Not the worst place to be on the racetrack either for Saracino, right behind Formal.
No, that's a good guy to follow around this place, especially based on his performance yesterday. And already fast again as we got one on the wall. That is the 27.
DeLongchamp.
Lucas DeLongchamp, one of the Canadian PSL karting entries. Into the fence there in a weird way as well.
You wonder whether it was similar to the incident we had yesterday with Downing when he went off the racetrack and got off and started kind of doing the huckabuck, trying to hold on to the cart up and down over the barriers there, getting straight off to the left. That's an interesting place to park that cart, especially if he went hard into the barriers.
Now, Mateus Morgado is a bit further back than these drivers again, because he didn't go out for more than about a lap and a half of the final practice session. So he'll be late to kind of jump up the pylon. Justin White is 3rd overall. There's Mateus. He waited a long time to start his lap, so he'll be 1 lap short of everyone else. If he's trying to go for 4, I think he'll be happy with just 3. Formal, 2nd lap at speed, 3rd lap overall, 49.75. Alan Isambard to 2nd there on the RRC Cosmic. And let's see what the reigning Pro Tour champ, the reigning Winter Series champ can do as he gets ready to fly here through the chicane.
Up and over 11, 12, rotating on 13, back on power. Does he see the checker flag, or is he going to get one more here as well late in the run? He'll come across the line.
Looks like he's got another.
Agreed.
But he'll need it. Only a 10th and a half still to find, but it still is a delta nonetheless to Danny Formal. So PSL Karting, 1-2, Isambard 3rd. TKG Barellart 4th with Gavin Bailiff. Marinello's 5th and 6th. But the top 3 are close, and Isambard the biggest improvement overnight for sure.
Yeah, it's been kind of that progression through the weekend, has it not been for Isambard? He talked about it when we chatted with Alex yesterday about the fact that they were just working on getting the thing better and better. P3 right now, final lap's going to be a crucial one, though. Here comes the checker we were looking for from Aaron Likens. Moves further back with Hagberg moving his way up into the top 10 right now. Formal still on top. Here comes Morgado, though, with that one more shot at it. Over a 10th and a half back last time by with a 49.901. Can he find some speed here in the final circuit coming across the line?
Not enough, but it was more. 600ths. It ends with Danny on top, a sweep of the poles. It's been a perfect weekend to this point for the big guy. The number 37, 49.718 to Mateus Morgado.
Morgado found a lot on that last lap. As I said, it was over a 10th and a half at one point. He knocks it down to just 64 thousandths of a second at the line. A 49.718 to a 49.782. PSL Karting again locks out the front row with Formal on the inside, Morgado on the outside. The improvement for Alan Isambard in the RRC. Tony Kart machine continues throughout this weekend. He'll work his way up to 3rd. Pushing Gavin Bailiff, who was 3rd yesterday, down into the 4th spot. So expect both of those drivers to battle Isambard and Bailiff, only 22 thousandths of a second apart on fast time on lap 4. Juan Acosta up into the 5th spot, Justin White and his teammate Vincenzo Saraceno in 6th and 7th. You talked to White yesterday. He thought he may be able to challenge for the race win depending on the conditions. They're going to need to find a little bit more as they're almost a half a second back right now.
Yeah, definitely need a bit more speed here on that at least that one lap pace. Over the course of the run, he looked pretty solid, but his teammate Vincenzo Saraceno even more to find. The 33 didn't look that good as the session went on. He was trying to hang with Gavin early, and then now 8/10 off by the time the checkered flag flies ahead of rookie CJ Bowman. Anthony Martella, they're 9th. You heard him saying it's been a huge benefit to be able to continue to learn off the data from Danny and Mateus, and he's got 9/10 worth of it to try and find here before the pre-final rolls. Ashton Henkel there rounding your top 10. And as we go back to the final few, we'll again see how the blend looks for the Master Shifter drivers compared to your Pro Shifter drivers on our second page of the results really quickly. And that's, of course, with Daniel Paras, Gabriel Holguin, they're 16th, 17th, Skitchy 18th overall, so ends up behind all the main drivers in Pro Shifter. But the top of the overall group, the top of the Pro Shifter group, Danny Formal by 600ths, much closer than yesterday, but he still is P1. Alex?
Thank you, Xander. Yeah, you mentioned it, right? That's the story of it all. Mateus is closer than he was yesterday. Still on pole, though, for you, Danny. So how would you kind of describe qualifying?
That was a good quali. Not as easy as like yesterday on track position. Yesterday, Vincenzo had an issue leaving the pit, so I passed him and Justin leaving the pit. So I only had to pass Bailiff, and he let me by in lap 1. So, I had 3 laps of pushing by myself. I had to get through Vincenzo, Justin, and Gavin. And, I caught him in my last lap just a bit, maybe a 10th more in it. But, yeah, track record, official track record. Mateus, and I think so did I. But officially, new track record in Orlando. We beat the 175 of Billy that he did it 2 years ago. So really happy. Another pole. To start the year like this, it's always great. And super thankful for everyone's making this happen. And, like I said, I know Mateus. I know how good he is. Yesterday was an anomaly, so it's going to be a tight race.
I know shifter driving is physical, but I can't help but notice you're almost out of breath throughout that qualifying session.
It's really cold. It's really, really cold. My eyes were really watery, and I was having a hard time breathing. Not like the air, it's so cold and so thin. I'm not used to it. I'm a Florida boy / Costa Rican boy, so it's like way too cold. So, yeah, super happy, and we'll go back, do a few changes that we're going to do, and hard for the pre-final.
Thank you, bud.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
New track record. I like that. I like the fact that the driver knew before we did, too. He was all over that.
Oh, yeah. Danny's all about that. Again, when we talk about stats, right, you, me, David Cole, Emery, Lida here in the booth, and the rest of our crew have been trying really hard to keep a tab on it all. But Danny, he not only does nothing left to prove when it comes to being a top driver, but he is one heck of a talent when it comes to knowing and studying this sport as well. That was a great look at how he was able to get it done. And, it's a wrap on our free show here for qualifying. We will see you guys on the other side with pre-finals and main events, exclusive KC Premium members, beginning with KA Junior in a moment.